did.
Welcome to ThursdAI on this very big and special day. I'm standing in for Alex at the moment, and he's our special guest on the show. And we also welcome Ryan Carson here. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's a big day. And Yem, as usual.
Hello, everybody.
Happy
Let's
day.
go.
Yeah.
Great. Has the
Okay, let's check the Twitter space first.
Folks, I could not miss this. I could not miss the week of GPT5 that's coming that we're going to live stream. The OSS, the long-awaited open source model that we started to get some reviews from some folks. Wolfram, I would love to hear from you some stuff. And we have Qwen releasing an image model out of nowhere. There's a bunch of stuff. This is crazy. I'm super, super excited for this. And very happy to see Ryan here with us and to celebrate this incredible, incredible week. And to see the new top of AI.
Oh yeah, let's definitely see what this day brings and all the news we have and all the news that come up. So yeah, there's a Twitter space. Did it start? Did anyone look after it?
I did not schedule one, if that's what you're asking. No.
Oh, you didn't schedule it. Oh, I see. Okay. Then we'll just do one right live. Maybe one of you, Yam, honestly, could start it, or Ryan.
You did live on Twitter streaming, so there's a lot of you on the stream, but not on the space.
Yeah, we're good. I think we're good for today. I think we're good for the Twitter space. Okay. It's fine. Go.
Okay, so let's do the TLDR first as usual and see what we have planned for this show. The OpenAI live stream, where we will see GPT5, everybody's expecting it, will happen immediately after our show. So we'll do a live restreaming and watch party, and yeah, that will be a really big and long episode that way. But that is to be expected with so many news to cover, right? So let's see, what do we have on the agenda for today? We have, of course, GPT OSS, the open source release. That has been the dominant news this week, up until now, of course, but definitely we will take a look at it. So finally, after so many years, OpenAI has put the open back into AI and released their open source models, Apache licensed even. And yeah, we will take a look at GPT OSS 120B and GPT OSS 20B.
Can we just call out how insane that is? Like, we have a model we can run on our machine, like from OpenAI. Like, we have free intelligence. Like, if time froze from now on,
we also call out your insane sound quality, Ryan, for just a second.
Alex, do it for you.
Intelligence on machine. After the TLDR, we must talk about the reactions from the community because
I'm one of those voices, but we will talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, definitely great that OpenAI has released something. And like Ryan said, it's not only very smart, it's much smarter than many people expected, but it was also running very fast locally. So definitely the big topic, the new OpenAI open models. But they weren't the only ones who released open source stuff. Qwen has been added again, like every week it appears. And they have released Qwen 3.4b Instruct 2507 and Qwen 3.4b Thinking 2507. So two new small thinking models with 256K context. And yeah, we will go into the technical details when we take a look at it. But two new models from Qwen. The other is from Hanyuan. They released Tencent released their Hanyuan 0.5b, 1.8b, 4b, and 7b. So also 4 more open models in small sizes. And another one from China, from XBay 04, which is funnily named 04 as well, but it's not from OpenAI, it's from them. 4th generation parallel test time scaling model. And it outperformed OpenAI's O3 Mini in their benchmarks. So another release we can and will take a look at.
That's all that happened?
Only the open source
really
LLMs. And only the LLMs. And the big corporation LLMs, we have Claude Opus 4.1, a new release of Opus, which is better for real-world coding, reasoning, and agentic tasks as well.
So, Yum, are you being paid by Anthropic? Come on.
Oh, definitely not. Oh, a lot. I'm paying to Anthropic.
We're all paying.
Okay.
Yeah, so their top model got even better. And from Google, it's not really an LLM, but they showed Genie 3, and that has been mind-blowing. We'll definitely show them videos about this because it's amazing. It's an advanced word simulator. And
I have breaking news on this topic.
Oh, we have a new model.
From the hookah shop.
For,
Let's go.
For the Genie 3, on the way here, I think I've arranged the Genie 3 team to come to the show next week. So we may have them next week, and we may talk about it at length. Yeah.
Excellent.
Shout out to Logan Kilpatrick.
Good job, Alex.
For this. Well, he reached out to me.
Love it.
So yeah, that will be exciting. We will show videos of this when we look at it, and it will be mind-blowing. Okay, then what do we have next? From OpenAI, well, not much this week, I guess. We will cover it later. And vision and audio, there's also another open source multimodal model called Galileo, which is actually for Earth observation. It's called a remote sensing model. It's maybe a bit niche for our show, but it was released. And since we are covering world models and stuff, why not mention it? So this is one other one. Now, voice and audio, there's Kitten TTS, which is a tiny, tiny 50 million parameter, 25 megabyte big, or small, I should say, text-to-speech model. It can run in your browser and it has good quality. So we will look, or more likely listen to it later. But
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
you can run it in your
Kokoro
browser.
Kokoro was revolutionary at 82 million parameters. So that was 82 megs. But you have to keep in mind with the implementations that if you just let that thing go and speak a whole book, it will use 20, 40, 50 gigabytes it will use all GPU that you have if you don't do it correctly, or like one paragraph at a time. But this is one of the first ones I would say, because Kokoro was good, but it was not quite real time for use in mobile devices. This is the first one which you can just bundle with any app and anything, and it's just good enough, let's say.
Yeah, it even comes with multiple voices. Yeah. That is the Kitten TTS, and also in the audio stuff, 11 Music from 11 Labs. They are releasing their own audio music generation model. And yeah, we'll take a look. But as far as I know, it's not available for use yet, just some demos.
There's also Producer.ai that came out last week after our show.
Yes.
We did not talk about this on the show. And Producer is dope. I play with it. It's really, really cool. We should at least mention this. It's from Steve Vacation Break. I forgot the actual name of the folks who created the model, but Omni Fusion. So it's a new model from Refusion folks, but within the most beautiful agentic type studio setting that you can imagine. We definitely must talk about it.
Alex, your Afrikaans remix was hilarious.
So much happening in AI on all fronts. It's amazing. Qwen-image came out. So we have a new diffusion image generation model, next generation, with excellent text rendering quality. We'll take a look at this later as well. Qwen or Alibaba, they have been going all over the place with all the releases they did. Big models, small models, image models. That was the TLDR.
Hit the tunes. Come on, Wolfram.
So many tunes are prepared here. Wait a
So many
second.
tunes. So where should they go?
Everywhere where you're watching, there's a chat box on the right, usually, of the stream. If you talk to us through X comments, we can see, we can highlight on the screen, and we will do so during the show. But if you go to YouTube, definitely give us comments. We will gladly show them during the restream party of the GPT5 release. We'll definitely show comments. So definitely give us comments there. We're available. This show is a community show. If we missed anything that Wolfram mentioned or we mentioned, definitely also mention in the comments. We love it.
People, please comment, and we'll do our best to answer.
Yeah,
Thanks, Alex.
best on Twitter, but you can also just Google the name of the shisha bar in Croatia that Alex is right now.
Come by. Just come by. It's called
So Alex, were you like the family hack?
Okay, yeah, I will go to open source.
and go.
Open source AI.
The open source AI part is probably one of my favorite parts, definitely. And this week, a very special part. Should we go straight to GPT-5 for GPT OSS?
GPT-9.
Or, yeah, at least the naming, it kind of makes sense. Or should we first start with the small fries and then
Let's
move on
run through the small ones.
Right, so let's take a look at Qwen 3, 4B, instruct, and thinking. I will share the screen and put this on my browser so we can take a look at this.
I got that one running on my phone, actually. And I have to say, this is the best local phone model that is around 2.3 gigs that you can possibly run right now.
Heyo.
With such
What phone?
Just on an iPhone. So as long as you have 4 gigs of free space, you can run it. And it's actually pretty good. I was getting about, I don't know, it looked usable. It does heat up the phone a lot, but it was actually quite usable for me.
Like roughly tokens per second?
I've used it while sailing before to try and configure the little autopilot because we didn't have signal. The past model that I tried to use was the Starling one, and that one couldn't really do it. But then I asked this one, and this one just knew exactly. So I think this is I'd say this is like one of the very first super usable mobile models that there are. So I can just probably show it right now, but it takes a little bit to load. But you guys can do the benchmarks.
If you want to do a real demo, live demo, that would be cool, of course. And it's pretty much, it's similar size to what Google has been doing with Gemma local on the mobile phone. So I think that is also a great model for this. And it could also be used for speculative decoding to speed up the bigger models if they are compatible enough. Definitely something worth to try. So they increase the long context and understanding. That is a great thing.
Yeah,
better alignment.
You guys can probably see the speed there. Okay, it's backwards on my screen, but you can see that it is somewhat usable. Even though I'm on a 4-year-old, 5-year-old now iPhone 12 Pro, I can actually run it. Like it's actually filling it out.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's very high too. Like those, especially if you have a faster phone, you'll probably get like 20 tokens per second. And you can even just run it at a little bit reduced speed in order to not heat up your phone as much. But yeah, I think this is pretty revolutionary when it comes to how many gigabytes can you fit in mobile devices. So I'm very impressed with this model, but I'm usually a fan of the Qwen models. I've used them all the time. So.
I know, you're a little fanboy. So that's the 4B model, right?
Yeah.
4B. And interestingly, in the MMU Pro, it got 70%, about 70%, which is a very good score for just a 4B model. I just finished my benchmark runs of the GPT OSS model, the 20B, and it got 76%. So it shows how strong the small model is if it gets so close to what the big OpenAI release can do. So
I have a quick question for everybody. What do you think this model is really going to be used for? Let's talk about real world stuff. Like, how are we going to use a 4B model on our phone?
I'm not a fan of the small models, actually. So I would probably use it for speculative decoding, if that works. That would be a perfect use case for it, to just make the bigger model faster without losing the intelligence, if that works. On device, it could probably be used for summarization tasks or stuff like that. So any other input ideas? Niston, you are using it?
Well, I work a lot on this stuff, and we wrote the paper on device models. But I would say anywhere that you can use a Raspberry Pi, you can use this now. So if you're doing any type of home automation and you want to talk to it and you just want to have it completely private, you can use that. The other thing about being this size is that you can preload it. It gets to a point now where you can actually just preload it in the browser. I would say more around the robotics, automation, devices type of things. It is pretty excellent for that, and interpreting sensor data and sending out commands. And other things like summarization and inside the operating system stuff, sure. But usually you have internet for that.
I could see a lot of home automation stuff, right? Like it's a very affordable way for a hardware manufacturer to put intelligence into something very small. It's open source. You know, meanwhile, Alex just kind of casually smokes a hookah. Well,
the audience required this already. So yeah, we're in the same place. I will say about small models, right? There's also the whole aspect of showing what's possible, while we get the level of intelligence that we get now in 2 years in the same small model, right? So like whatever stuff we can do now with bigger models, we're pretty much on the curve that we can get to do in a few years in the same site, right? So like the same use cases you use a bigger model for in a year and a half, for example.
What do you think this 4B model type thing would be actually used for in real life?
Look, running models on edge devices is great. You can think about maybe even for the simplest things like running on your messages or private data that you don't want to send anywhere else. I think it's a very valid use case.
Also,
for...
I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I can't shut up. It has 256K context, guys. You can just use this as the embedding in search model.
That is insane.
Yeah, and it would be a lot better than any kind of RAG you could possibly build. So there's that for industrial corporate use case. And it's very easy to fine tune. It's a dense model. It's very easy to fine tune these ones. I don't know if they've provided a base one for this, but we love it, especially for medical stuff. This thing just responds very well to training as well.
Can I just say, like, this arms race between all the labs releasing open source models, what a gift to the development world. We're being given intelligence time after time, week after week. It's just bonkers.
Oh, definitely. To answer your question, Niston, about the base model, there is a Qwen 3.4b base model available, which is not the 2507, but I think if this is just a continued retrain, probably, yeah, they just continue training that in instruct mode.
Yeah, we tested this. We tested a lot of these, the small, tiny models are almost performing better than the best medical models from last year that were deployed in hospital, like MedPalm 2 and stuff. The rate of progress is pretty nuts. I don't think we've even started to realize what we can do with them. As devices get more powerful, IDEs, your software, your games that you play, they can run a small model for the chat as well. So good stuff.
Yeah, and from the benchmarks that we have here, we talked about MW Pro already, and it's
The interesting notice that they're only comparing it to themselves. No longer are there other models in these benchmarks. And somebody called it out.
Hey, you guys could hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, so just on the topic of what this would be useful for, I think things like sentiment analysis, there is like some specific sentiment analysis models, but for some more complex things or things that a sentiment analysis model might not be particularly trained for, like, hey, is this sentence sarcastic and about dogs? Like basic things like that, which are pretty niche and might be implemented in like a lot of workflows, but you just need something really fast and cheap. I think it could be cool for something like that.
LDJ, do you ask about sarcasm and dogs a lot in your life?
No, but I could just imagine just various data analysis pipelines or things like that, even just for trying to filter through huge reams of pre-training data and things like that. There's a lot of workflows.
Yeah, it could run on your device, check your incoming mail, and decide if it is a mail about a sad dog or something. Yeah, I think on-device intelligence for these more specifically fine-tuned models can be a real boon when we have more tasks happening on our devices. Like, for example, forwarding just the messages that are important, summarizing the non-important and stuff like that. That could happen on devices, smaller models that are smart enough.
Yeah, this happens with like Apple Intelligence a lot, and this business. Apple Intelligence is very disappointing, but like one of the highlights for me is exactly this use case. Summarization, that needs to happen on device because I don't want to like have it read all my emails, for example.
Yeah. So to finish up the Qwen part, boosted general skills, multilingual coverage, and long context instruction following have been improved. I'm especially interested in the multilingual coverage, of course, so that it works in other languages. That is a good thing, I would say, and I will definitely work with the speculative encoding to see if that works and speeds up the bigger models. All right. Now somebody is saying happy GPT5 day. Yeah, definitely. We'll get to this. And for now, we'll just go through the open source models. The next one on the list, let's put it on the screen as well, is actually 4 models, the Hanyuan models. Let's go to, I have too many tabs open. Where's the shared tab? It's over here.
These ones, I did not use any of them, but they are from the same Wizard LM team, and I got some very good reviews reviews from other people whom I trust. I have only used their ATB MOE with 13 billion active parameters, and that one was very, very good. Also, surprisingly, quite censored. So actually quite applicable to serve as a customer-facing app for different things. So yeah, these are supposed to be very good from what I heard, but I didn't try any of them.
The parameter scope on these is pretty wild, like, 500 million all the way up to 7.
Great to have multiple sizes, so you can pick the one that fits in your constrained environment. Like you mentioned before, the smart home, smart vehicles, consumer grade mobile phones.
How do you all think the labs are choosing, like, which models to release? This feels like more versions than you typically see. What do you think the thought process is between releasing, how many? There's 4 versus just 2.
Yes, we had Jun here on stream, and we asked them for smaller models, and Jun was like very elusive. And then like after 2 days, they dropped like a 3 billion parameter thinking model or whatever, the small one. So we definitely keep asking.
You influenced them.
We did not get like a full answer about how exactly they choose.
I think it's more on what devices people actually have at home. But if you look at the gaming companies, they try to optimize for what the mid-low range GPU is that people have, and that is usually around 4 gigs, or people are going to have an 8 gig MacBook or so. So that's why you see a lot of models in this range, because they're optimizing for mass adoption.
Can we do a quick poll? I'm curious what machine everybody's on. Like, I just upgraded to a fancy new M4 Max 64 gig machine, so I'm loving life right now. But Alex, what are you on? What's your daily driver?
M3 Max or Pro, I don't remember, with the 64 as well. I bought it specifically to be able to run local models, and the kicker is I don't use that many local models because the input speed of some of these like great models is crazy. I do use it to test out the stuff that we talked about, but for I'm obviously looking for the best intelligence always.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Wolfram, what's your daily driver? Wolfram.
I have an AI workstation with 2 3090 GPUs, so that is where I can run the bigger models quantized, and my work laptop here is an Apple M4 Pro, where I can run the smaller models.
My workstation server is 4 3090s. One I think is broken, so I can only run 3. And my daily driver is a base model 8 gig M1 MacBook Air, in which I run a customized Linux on now, and it's very, very fast. I also use another laptop with Arch Linux because I use Arch, by the way.
Not Omarchy?
No, Omarchy. I customized my own version of Cashy OS because I like having Windows and stuff move around. Anyway, about that one just has a 2 gig NVIDIA card, which I run Whisper on locally, and just a regular i7.
I love that. I love that you're still on a MacBook Air and you just make it work.
It just doesn't break. It's, yeah.
Jan, what's your daily driver?
For doing AI stuff, I run on a server that I have 24/7 in the cloud. And my laptop is just Dell XPS with Linux installed. But I just want to say that the new Macs are incredible. And I really want to get one of the new Macs.
So good. And the battery life is insane. LDJ, what's your...
I never had a Mac, but this time I want. Right now I want a Mac because they're so good. Seriously.
All right. Last one, LDJ, what's your daily driver?
Yeah, basically the same as Jan. I don't have literally an XPS, but I basically had the same computer I've had since I started my first company 5 years ago, which is just GTX 1660, 6 gigabytes of VRAM. But like Yam said, I'm the same as him, where I basically just use server GPUs and run H100s and stuff whenever I need to. I like just occasionally, sometimes just seeing what could still run on this, like even the GPT OSS 20B model from OpenAI. I was testing it just on this machine just to see how fast it might be, and it was actually pretty decent speeds. And like I sometimes like using that as a test of just the average kid that just might have like some relatively cheap computer out there, what could he actually do with local models today?
I think the message to the audience is, if you're not running a rack, then what are you doing? And so now I feel really dumb and I need to get a rack.
Yeah, and like Yam said, I'm also really looking towards the Mac PCs, like the Mac Studios and the MacBook Pros.
Okay, cool.
People just pick anything. If it's slow, put Linux or something on it, then it's fast. You can just rent GPUs whenever you want.
My top of the line hardware got like what a year ago. It's the pace is crazy, and today is also crazy. So just to move on because folks would like to hear about the big open source news. I think unless we have small potatoes, but the big open source news is definitely worth talking at length about.
Let's move on. That the small models, everybody can run this. So the small models, everybody can run it, and the thinking means they are smarter than the small AIs used to be because of the thinking, which helps smaller AIs actually a lot more, I noticed, than the bigger ones, which are smart out of the box usually. The bigger ones run circles around the right answer and know it already, while the smaller ones can get to it, which they couldn't without thinking. So yeah, that is big and important.
Just
everybody can use
we move
this.
on. Take us to the next one.
Let's just do a quick look. So we have looked at it and then we can move on because OpenAI is the main course today. XBay 04 is also a Chinese model as far as I know here from SourceWhite. It's available on Hugging Face. It's Apache 2 licensed. Some benchmarks comparing it to OpenAI 03 Mini. Yeah, it's here. Yeah. So definitely something to check out. I think it's more niche, I guess. Not so interesting for most people. I think it's a 30B model. About 30B, where's the size? Yeah, 32, 33B.
A new contender.
Yeah, I mean, first time I hear about them. 32B parameters is not a small model to be launching for the first time.
I'm not so sure about the model because I didn't test it, but the way that they were doing things on their paper, it was like what a lot of people suspected that Sonnet did when it had the huge jump to 3.5.
So want to tell us? You remember anything?
I don't fully remember correctly, so I'd be hallucinating. They were doing some things in this paper which I thought were extremely interesting and what a lot of people had suspected. I don't know if the model's actually good. I haven't tested that, but yeah.
So what do we know about this team?
Not much.
That's the paper.
That's pretty wild.
Were these the ones that left the DeepSeek team and then started something, or it was someone else? I don't remember because there was like a team first that leaked the training method of DeepSeek because they tried to start their own company, and that was early on. That was like the GRPO thing, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I think it's time to move to the big news of the week, the open source release from OpenAI.
All right.
Let's take a look at those. So let's go to their blog and I will open this again.
First, with the promised release of the open source model, it looks like they delayed it, right? We waited for this a couple of weeks ago. Actually, on my birthday, I think we're supposed to get a gift. And then they kind of like waited for it because of like safety reasons, which we'll definitely talk about.
It was on Tuesday. It was on Tuesday. Here we have a blog post announcing 2 models. That was actually a bit surprising for me because I wasn't expecting those size differences here, 120B and the 20B. But in retrospect, it was a great thing because you can run the 20B on a lot of machines, much more if they had released the 70B, for instance. 120B on the internet or the big one on the APIs and Biases has both of them already up there. That's where I ran my benchmarks. My MMLU Pro tests ran on those very fast and very good. I will post the results later. Let's take a closer look at some of the technical stuff. There was a great post that I will bring up here.
I'm running on Ollama locally. It's just so freaking good. The 20B. Oh.
Did they fix the speed actually? Because wasn't Ollama much slower than, for example, Llama CPP, LM Studio?
It feels fast to me. Like I should double check if I need to update.
How many tokens do you get?
Go ahead.
Thanks.
There's a whole thing we must mention from Georgi Girgano from GGML fame and Llama CPP, talking about Ollama not using the upstream versions of Llama.cpp, making the results different for folks. He actually called Ollama out. So we should mention this as well, because they're using like Llama CPP, but not the most upstream versions. LM Studio, for example, does use the upstream version with all the fixes.
Ah, cool.
So we have two versions. We have the 120B. It's a 160.8 billion total parameters model with 5.1 billion active parameters. So it's a MOE model, which means if you have enough RAM and VRAM, it runs very fast on these. And 20B is a 21B total parameters, about 21B, 3.6 billion active parameters. And they are both in the benchmark, they have been plowing away all the competition. We have to really applaud OpenAI for making a model that's extremely intelligent and rocking the benchmarks. That is definitely a big strength here. It's known as the smartest open model from the West of all the models. So that has been shown in some benchmarks here. And it's fast, it runs on a lot of machines. So in that way, they really did a great release. And it's very different from what we have seen with Meta's Llama release, where the model was also pretty big, but they didn't have a smaller one for most people. And in the benchmark, it wasn't convincing. And so from this point of view, OpenAI has done really great.
It's amazing. The 20B model is only 12 gigs. It's beautiful.
OpenAI is open now. We talked about this on stream. We did the stream once it came out. We had an incredible stream, like 10,000 viewers. We're like celebrating the fact that OpenAI is no longer closed. OpenAI is finally open, and they did a great release. They released I think they worked with multiple providers. They worked with LM Studio, already has the thinking modes. It supports 3 reasoning efforts, kind of like their API does, like small, medium, and large. And you can specify those reasoning modes in the system prompt. So you can trigger this model to start the thinking modes.
Yeah, we tested this quite extensively last week, live actually. And
2 days ago, listen.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It already feels...
A couple days ago.
It was literally 2 days ago.
Last week.
I kept thinking last week.
Time moves so fast.
Dilates.
Yeah, but it's amazing. They also have a new prompt template, the Harmony thing, and LM Studio also implemented it very quickly. There was an update for that. So it has a lot of new stuff actually in there that is showing off. Apache 2, big round of applause for that alone, because we also see often specific licenses that are only free in a certain way or only for non-commercial use like these, or if you have a number of customers greater than X, then you can't use it without paying and stuff like that. So this is completely open, and that is a good thing. And a lot of people can build upon this without any hidden clauses or restrictions. So that is an open model in that way, open source, if you will, even if the source code, of course, is still secret. There are speculations that it has been trained exclusively or almost exclusively on synthetic data created by O3, for example. So there are traces indicating that kind. And since we applauded them for being open, I also have to say that it is one of the most restricted models I can think of since the release of Llama 2 or 3. I think it was 2 that was over-restrictive and didn't even kill processes. So they have really put on the guardrails in this version. And people have tried to jailbreak it already, but there is not much outside of the prison if you escape the guardrail. That was also an interesting observation from people, that Sam Altman talked about the optimum AI where it doesn't have any knowledge, but high intelligence, and then it can use tools like internet search, RAG, to get the information. And that is also a dream of a lot of people I've been consulting with. How do I get all of the information that comes from the internet out of the model? You don't want the model to talk about. If you are using it in commercial situations, you want it constrained. Just give it the information from your use cases. And I think that was a major consideration from what I've seen from this model.
I'm curious, does everybody think this is where we're going, where we don't include knowledge into the training and it's just purely tool calling? I actually like that.
Someone from Qwen said they are considering this because it has a lot of advantages for the model makers. And especially if you consider legislation and stuff, copyright issues, all these things. But on the other hand, for example, Technium and we also think that it is very important to have a wide knowledge base for them inside the LLM, in the latent space. So there are all these concepts that are connected with each other. And I personally maintain, for example, I've been saying that it is good if a model knows Chinese poetry and French cooking, for example, and then it could be a better coding model because there are concepts and stuff that every human has. And if you take those out, the intelligence may be there, but it can't make the connections. It's also very bad in German, for example. A colleague of mine has tested it with an evaluation done on the grammar, and they also say that it is trained on English text. So that was their priority, and they did that. So it wasn't to be expected, but even the Qwen models, even the older ones, you could still get good results or relatively good results in German. So I don't know how well it would even understand instructions in another language. I haven't tested that myself yet.
So, Wolfram, are you a secret French cooker?
I like French cuisine.
Who doesn't? There's also the whole thing of folks saying that this is a very big Phi 5, basically. The Phi team, I think somebody mentioned, left Microsoft and went to OpenAI, and some are saying that this is very, very reminiscent of the way Phi was, which is trained on synthetic data almost exclusively. And for that reason, it's very good that the task it's good at, but less so on other tasks. We also didn't get a base model, so we only have instruct models from these models. But yeah, that's what we got from OpenAI. It's great on benchmarks. It's incredible that we get. We also should mention the Harmony kind of text thing. We want to talk a little bit. We talked about this previously on the previous stream, kind of the chat ML alternative that's called Harmony that OpenAI just gave to us.
Yeah, they basically extended what we knew about ChatML to a version that is now confirmed to be running their own systems, at least in the past. We don't know at the moment, but at least in the past, it's like the actual thing that they run. It basically just extends the format from just chat to tool use, and also tool use in the background. Like the model can deploy tools or do reasoning in the background with a special token that is not intended for the user to see, and so on. And it's very clever. It's very production oriented, ready for production use. And yeah, the model is pretty divisive. Either you really like it or you can't stand it. You see it online. People are saying it all the time. I'm from the camp that likes the model. I think it's a good model. But yeah, I can understand what people are saying. It kind of feels like it's benchmarked, but I don't think it's a bad thing, in my opinion. At least for a small model, being benchmarked means that you can use it for things that a benchmark chooses, that the benchmark tests for, which is pretty reasonable thing to assume for a model. But yeah, it's pretty divisive. There are opinions online, very spicy opinions to both sides.
It's interesting to see the comments that we're just putting on the screen that there's two opposite opinions, like folks saying, hey, they want to see the data trained in because there's no BS detection otherwise. And then other folks are saying, love it. So fascinating to see how this, right? Alex, your comment about maybe it being based on Phi is like fascinating. And I wouldn't never have called that.
Phi was also doing extremely well in benchmarks. Even in a German benchmark, it was answering perfectly. But when you were using the model to talk to it, what came out of it, it wasn't very usable at all. And I'm in the same situation here. That is why the split is happening between the different expectations people had. I was one of those who were hoping for something like GPT-4o, where you get a model that is excellent in many languages. It is smart enough to answer easy questions and do text conversions and stuff like that. And then you have the smart models, the thinking models, like which you use for the few but very important questions you have. And I would be happy to have something I can run all the time locally and then go online for the big stuff. But instead it is the other way around, where I can still use GPT-4o for now until 5 comes out. Of course, for me personally, that was a disappointment. For others who want a model that uses RAG and web search and answers questions about your product, for example, that you give it in the context and doesn't do anything else, is tightly locked down. For those, that is the perfect model, I think. So yeah, it's about the expectations people have and the use cases.
Look, I think we need to acknowledge that there is a trade-off at the end. If you have a model that is great in many different languages and so on, it's going to be a large model if you want it to be good. Moreover, think about, for example, if you use it for a specific thing, you give it the context that you want with whatever context it is, and you ask it to reason about that specific context. I think this model N5 nails it for this use case. And this is exactly what they were aiming for with a model that is extremely good at reasoning, but might lack a little bit of world knowledge, you can say. Smaller amount of weights is limiting.
I lean towards tool use. I would rather have strong tooling and tool calling than I would like deep knowledge baked into the model. Because I'm sure you all feel the same. Like, I don't trust all the information that comes out of the model. Like, I would much rather see a tool call. So,
yeah, 100%. In that way, definitely information can get out of date quickly, and then a model that is doing tool calling can get this. And I think it is great, for example, as a background model. Imagine something like a Gemma 3 locally, or for instance, a Mistral model if you need another language. And then that can use as a tool, like an MCP call, to call the GPT OSS model to do reasoning about something and then produce an output, look stuff up on the web and give you this. And then the local model that isn't all that smart, but is great in the language you use, can summarize it, present it better in a way, something like that.
So let's do a quick like temp check. Who's actually using GPT OSS right now? Like literally using it. Nistan, tell us how.
So it runs very fast at full context, 130K. And I am using it for planning. I can't really use it with tool use in Klein, but I can use it for planning for the code base. I found it excellent. I almost wanted to hate it, just not quite there. I have not been shy about being a critic of OpenAI before. It was also me and Lantos took down Open Interpreter because we found a whole bunch of, we rooted when the Boxman was running it in public. So I'm not shy about these things, about criticizing OpenAI. But I was very impressed with the model. It's like, yeah, it's locked down and stuff, but it just makes it more fun to jailbreak. I'm using it to just dump up to 100,000 tokens from the code base, just dump it in and get a very solid review and get a very solid planning. And I find it excellent at that. It can't really vibe code or write good styling code. It really sucks at CSS. So I tested that, but actually understanding what's going on is very, very good. And kind of surprised about people's reactions. Like, I think this is pretty dope. Now, personally, I do want the models to act as like archives of knowledge. So if we know that this model has been trained up to like 2024 and this is the knowledge it had, because I do think there is future use of that to check that like we're not losing information or losing knowledge on stuff. And to be fair, it does have some of that, just not as much as people expected. Like when I tested it about human right abuses and things about the past, it did actually remember, it did list all of those pretty accurate, very accurately. So it's a good source of truth still. And on the medicine side, it's very good. But I think outside of that, it doesn't.
Nistan, do you have an eval for like historical facts? That'd be interesting. I bet Alex does, being from Weights and Biases.
There should be a former eval on that. We just tested it live here. We were asking about everything, like stuff that happened in Indonesia, China, and we went pretty deep with it. It was very good. It's a very good source of truth in that regard. Also in medical knowledge, it is very good, but not multilingual. I do use the 120B just to dump parts of the code base in and get a second opinion as I'm working on it at 9 tokens per second. But I didn't really find that useful. I find the Qwen model a lot more useful for those kinds of like mobile action calling tasks.
We should mention also, we saw evaluations on creative writing from EQbench, from Sempich, and these models are not that great at creative writing. They come in very low, lower than Qwen. And like it makes sense given the speculations about the synthetic data, and definitely about this model being fine-tuned specific only to the task. So not an all-arounder, but definitely a great release. We should celebrate these releases from kind of the West. This is definitely the most performant Western model that we have, the most open one. Apache 2 license, great release from OpenAI folks, but not for everything, not all-arounder.
Can we just acknowledge how crazy it is to get like a model from OpenAI with Apache 2 license. Even
It's
this,
insane.
and there are papers and code and tutorials how to use it, and so much information about their own systems. What timeline is this, man?
It's beautiful.
It's
beautiful.
absolutely
They
beautiful.
even
Absolutely.
they worked with the Hugging Face folks and released like a full-on, we saw this on the previous live stream, a full-on fine-tuning tutorial for these models. You could fine-tune it for other languages, potentially. Maybe not fully understanding the context, but you could fine-tune this. And they released kind of like, hey, folks, here's how to do it together with Hugging Face. So they did really work with the community. We should remind folks also, they had 2 rounds of meetings with open source folks, friends of the show, went there, Maziar and some other folks went there. They chat one with the online folks and one actually in San Francisco. They asked a bunch of questions of how to release a great model. They really like went fully on and connected with the community. Did the community want a bit of more of a less of a sensor model? Yes. Did the community want more of an all-rounder? Yes. We're getting Apache 2 license from OpenAI. It's a reasoning model that has multiple reasoning levels. The whole reasoning concept, test time compute, all of this came out in September of last year. So not even a year into test time compute as a paradigm, we're getting a local model that can reason. Go ahead, Em.
It's kind of O3 level on many different benchmarks. O3 is, I don't know, 5 months old. And now we have it open source from OpenAI. It's not like a replication somewhere. It's crazy. Think about it. All of a sudden they're telling us information. It's crazy. Absolutely a great turn of events.
It's amazing. Like, and it's performant. Like, so I just downloaded LM Studio, downloaded the 20B model. I'm getting 67 tokens a second, 0.14 seconds to first token. I mean, it's amazing.
It's not a PR stunt. They really tried. You can see it by talking to the model. They really tried to give us a great model. Absolutely.
We don't have that much time for this week's Buzz Corner, but I will say, while Ryan has a great machine to run this model is supported by many inference providers, including which WNB inference provider, a new service that we just launched. If you guys go and you're interested in some free credits, if you go to the Weights and Biases Twitter account and apply to our original post from yesterday, then you may get some chance to get some free tokens.
Interested in this because it looks like they kept the main p-query value weights in bfloat 16, trained the rest of the expert weights, which is most of the meat of the model, in floating 0.4. But there have been other experiments by people like Maziar who had top fine-tuning crown on the Hugging Face leaderboard. If you do put some of the models even in float 32, they can perform differently, sometimes better. I am interested to see how this goes when you actually run it in full precision and not in mixed FP4. That will be interesting. So I'm going to try that out.
Speaking of this, there's quite a lot of chatter of different inference providers that give different results. And when you guys just go in OpenRouter, we're not there yet. We're going to be in OpenRouter very soon. But if you go to OpenRouter kind of like routes you to the appropriate inference provider by themselves. I've seen some chatter online that says that you get different results on this model based on which provider you choose in OpenRouter, and you can limit that section. You can say to OpenRouter, hey, I only want this model from like this provider and this provider. I can tell you, it's very important to the CoreWeave folks that back the WB inference with the GPU, that we put everything in full precision on to get the model as it's intended.
Yeah, this is important because I was using OpenRouter and I was getting kind of garbled reasoning tokens. And I didn't check who the provider was, but I bet it wasn't you all, Alex.
So the reason this happens is that because the attention weights are so small, they're very, very sensitive to any type of quantization. The Llama CVP 8-bit quantization is more like 8.5 bits. So it's a very accurate 8-bit quantization. It's a lot more accurate than what you get from floating 0.8. So when different providers are running the attention weights at floating 0.8 or a lot worse at floating 0.4, that will heavily cut down the performance of the model.
I think a lot of people don't even know about quantization. So it's interesting how this is happening and it really matters. So I'm glad we're talking about it. I want to remind everybody why we're here. GPT-5 is dropping in 24 minutes. And we got a good comment. Alexander Perez on YouTube says, what's the one mind-blowing feature you'd love to see in GPT-5 that would make you say, this changes everything? Why don't you go first?
I think the most mind-blowing thing is if it's going to be incredibly good at coding. because you can use it to code whatever you want. You don't need to be a programmer yourself to appreciate it. If it's gonna be better at coding and you can plug it to, I don't know, Cloud Code, Codex CLI, and so on, it's gonna be something, because at the moment they are all the coding models. Some of them are better, some of them are worse, but they're on the same ballpark level. If it's gonna be like incredibly better, it's gonna be something.
Yeah, I mean, I can't talk about this until 10 a.m., but obviously we've been testing GPT-5 at AMP, and we got a lot to say about it. So
let's cover LDJ. Go ahead, and then we'll cover the rest of the stuff, because we have 22 minutes or so until the big party.
Yeah, so I think a key thing that would be a big deal is there's a lot of people on Twitter and Reddit that are always expecting AGI to be on the next release. And so I think there is going to be a non-trivial amount of people that are not satisfied either way. But I think a very interesting step change in a sense to the industry might be if this is truly in every way better at coding than the Claude 4, Opus 4.1, which is Anthropic's latest model. I think that will be an industry change where they've been the dominant figure in coding for roughly a year at this point, which I guess that's not insanely long, but it feels like a very long time in AI. I think that'll be a really interesting shift in the industry if that happens.
Okay, I would say let's cover GPT-5 later with expectations and what we are hoping for, because we have to rush now, 20 minutes left, and still a lot of stuff that is on the list. So Opus, let's take a quick look at Opus, where I will just put it on here, the release announcement. Anthropic has upgraded Opus to 4.1, the first 4.1 release we are seeing here. I expect Sonnet 4.1 and others to follow up pretty soon. In this chart, it's just a small bump, but Opus has, for me and the people I know, most of them prefer Opus as the coding model. It's the best coding model so far. So we'll see if that changes after today, but for now, definitely great that the best one got even better.
But I mean,
So 72.5 on Qwen-image verified for Opus 4 in May of 2025. And in August 2025, even 74.5. So 2% bump on Qwen-image. But this 2% shows you kind of a graph that we can see when Opus 5 drops. It's going to be significantly more. It's a difficult task, Qwen-image verified. Although some folks are saying it's getting saturated. So definitely good to see. And also, I think they also released an update to the actual Opus 4. So it's not only Opus 4.5. I think Opus 4 itself was more agentic.
But who's using Opus 4 for like all their coding tasks? It's too expensive. Like I don't get it. Like, yeah, I would use it if I want a bunch of reasoning. I'd use 4.1, fine. But it's not my daily driver for coding.
I would only switch to it if it's not doing, if Sonnet isn't enough of making big plans, completely new features, something like that, and then you can go and let Sonnet do the rest.
Somebody give them more GPUs. I want them to have more GPUs. It's the limit. I want to use more Opus. Question to everyone, guys. Did you see any specific examples where you saw Opus 4.1 being better than Opus 4? Specific thing you tried? Anybody here?
We did on stream. It did seem better. I don't know. To me, it also feels somewhat smaller, or maybe they trained it better. 4-bit. I'm just making stuff up at this point, but I am someone that only uses Opus. I do not ever use Sonnet at all. Just get the company to buy another Claude Max plan, and you can use that in Client, because if you do Claude-P with the command, you can just dump in the whole code base and then get a review for that. But thankfully, the Qwen models enable to do a lot of the reviews without using up all of your token budget. So that has been helpful. But to write something new, to style a website or to write a component, it's not something that you're going to write a whole lot. So I only trust Opus to actually do a good job.
People are sure, quote, that Opus 4.1 is a smaller model. How can you be so sure, and why? Listen, you said it, so what do you think?
It's just, I use these things every day. So look, there's a high probability that I'm wrong at this and that others are. But when you use these things every day, there's also a pretty high probability that you're right when calling this out. So it does feel faster. So it executes stuff faster in sub-agents. And it's the same code base that I've been working on for weeks. and all of a sudden it gets work done a lot faster. So that's one. It does feel lazier. It feels lazier, which is something you notice with 4-bit models, that they tend to jump to conclusions more quickly. And this has been over the years. They just tend to make stuff up or finish agentic tasks earlier. So this does do that as well. But it does also output better styling, nicer looking components. It fixed my 3D stuff. I don't know if they've trained it for quantization or where training. They probably have, because they need to at this point. But this is a different model. This is not the exact same Opus. We also tested with actual examples on stream. I like it.
I would say let's go to the next point, because time is running out, quarter hour left. This is something we have to look at because it is mind-blowing what Google has prepared here. I will share my tab again. And this is Genie 3, a world model from Google, which is creating a 20 to 24 FPS video that you can actually control. Similar to things we have seen on the show before, where you give it an image, for example, or in this case, you can give it a prompt as well. And then you move around in this created world. But this one appears to be much more solid. Usually, if you turn around, you see different stuff. And this is not the case with this. It has more consistency and real-time interactivity. So really amazing stuff.
The world memory on this is insane.
Imagine you give it a prompt or a picture, somebody is holding a color roller where you can paint the wall, and it realizes how far you are, you can control it, and so you can go back and then nothing is painted. If you move to the wall, it paints, and it remembers where you painted, even if it goes out of the vision. So this is actually a virtual world that is happening.
Can you go full screen real quick, Wolfram?
Oh, yeah.
Does that work? Nice. And then replay this part, please. Like the memory of
the memory, the temporal consistency, and just the world consistency is like nothing we've seen before. And we talked about world model here all the time, because we definitely know that, like, from the video aspect where you can just generate videos, world models is the next step. You can walk around in them. This one is so far ahead from everything we've seen so far. It's insane. We've seen Mirage, we've seen like multiple other things. This is literally a walkable world. From you can kickstart with a prompt, you can kickstart with an image, and you can continue a video. We've seen multiple examples from the video. We generate the video with VO of like a drone flying, and then you can keep flying it within Genie 3. Absolutely incredible, folks. I will say this thing, and hopefully this will resonate with some folks. If you still don't believe we live in a simulation, I would love to hear your reasons why you don't think so, given the world model, the whole thing, Transformers, came out less than a decade ago. And now we're getting to a point where you can have temporal consistency within video, and this doesn't even have intelligences, right? The world of the LLMs with intelligence keeps getting better. Still hasn't found its way to this world of like world model. And when they collapse, this world that you can walk into and just create on the fly will also have intelligence. You can talk, will have memory. So we're going absolutely to an incredible place where you can just create a simulation of everything.
It's so insane. So how long can you generate a video? Does anybody know, number one? And what's FPS? Anybody know those stats?
Yeah, FPS were 20 to 24. The length?
He said it's about the context length of the memory is about a couple minutes. So it'll be able to somewhat remember the previous frames for about 2 minutes.
Because, I mean, before we're only getting about 8 seconds of video generation. So that's bonkers.
So important to understand, this is not a video model. It doesn't generate video because you can control where you go, right? Like you can go forward, you can turn around, you can walk left and right. This is like interactive world. We've seen video generation where you turn around and you don't see the thing that you just saw. So this is like a full-on, they're building a world, and it's quite incredible. It's like a game that you just generate on the fly. And I will say, again, for folks who are just tuning in, we just passed 10,000 viewers. Let's go. Hopefully, we're working on this. We'll be here next week on ThursdAI, and we'll ask them all these questions because we absolutely love world models. We feature all of them. If you have any questions for us to ask them, please send them over. LDJ, go ahead.
Yeah, there is past video models of where they do have essentially the concept of context length, just like you have with the concept of context length with language models, things like that. A lot of these are still fundamentally usually based on transformers or diffusion in some sense. And what you have here is other video models in the past that have like a few seconds sometimes of consistency where you can like look back and turn around and it will like somewhat maintain things. Like sometimes I think I've seen up to like 10, 20 seconds. But you have, especially if you're using some transformer-based method, where you have that quadratic scaling of attention, cost, and memory, where it becomes very costly to have something going for a few minutes. So either this using a lot of compute probably, or they've maybe implemented some type of new training efficiencies and inference efficiencies that makes that longer context much more efficient.
I can't wait to
My
play games.
my whole thing is I think it's using a lot of compute because just to clarify for folks, we're getting very excited. We're seeing a lot of videos. Nobody of us can play with this model yet. Google is only releasing this to a very small subset of folks to play around. So this is the release of capability and examples, and they have this model and they're playing with it, but we can't use this, unlike the other stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, they mentioned some use cases, like, for example, firefighters that can practice with this. And so I think that will go to professional use cases first before we can play the games. But those will come from Google or otherwise. So what I wanted to show next is Kitten TTS, which is a new TTS model, which is amazingly optimized. It is just 50 million parameters, runs without a GPU. It is less than 25 megabytes and has multiple high quality voices. So we can use one of these voices here. And this is now when I am generating the speech. I hope it has audio.
Nope.
Let's
Nope,
try.
can't.
I shared the tab. So we will see if it does Getty in the browser.
Hello, ThursdAI viewers.
The voice.
Tiny, right?
It's tiny, it's pretty fast. Could probably be even more optimized.
Hello, ThursdAI viewers. Greetings from Kitty in the browser.
Yeah, it's not as good as the huge models, and it probably doesn't do emotions and stuff like that. But for something in your browser that can read your web page without going anywhere or read your mails, that is definitely an amazing achievement already. So great, always great to have open source stuff that is immediately useful for a lot of people. Could be just put in your browser, in your email program, anywhere.
So I know
Okay.
we got 8 minutes, right? And we have to talk at some point about the Death Star image from Sam Altman. But anyway.
Yeah, let's just quick look at 11 Labs because they have an audio model or a model generator, an audio generation, music generation AI that is coming up.
So folks who are listening, we're playing a sample from the new 11 Labs music, the highest quality AI music model, according to them or their marketing. It's pretty cool to see 11 Labs stepping into this from just voice and now into music generation. Kind of sounds dope. I think the highlight there is this one is also available via API, so you can generate like multiple things, like music and voice on top of this music now with 11 Labs. It's pretty cool.
I
Yeah,
use
we
11 Labs a
definitely-
lot for audio, and it's beautiful. I'm impressed with this team.
Yeah, they're basically the #1 in audio stuff. So excited to see how it compares and the competition. Always good to see some movement and some new stuff. So, okay, the last big thing, I think.
Good thing, folks, for tuning in. We're going to tune in to the OpenAI live stream. We're going to watch it live with you. We're excited to see this because the description there says that Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, Mark Chan, like all these folks will be on the live stream. Sam Altman said it's going to be a longer one. We're going to be here for almost an hour watching the stream with you. Until then, we need to cover some of the more exciting news that are happening. We'll prepare the stream very soon, and we're going to be very excited to talk about the Death Star moment from Sam Altman. LDJ, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I'll put it.
I had a comment. Also, a shout out to Lori Wired on her YouTube. She had a video where she got the older Inter-LM music generator, the open source one, and she made a fully working Docker that generates an entire radio station for you. It didn't work well for drum and bass for me, but it worked well for all the other genres. And she actually made it into a fully working Docker that just works and opens up a radio station, and you put in what kind of music you want, and it seamlessly transitions for them. And she even made an agentic thing that looks at your processes on your Linux, and it changes the radio station depending on what kind of workload you're doing, which I thought was very cool. And it actually worked too, which was surprising. So yeah, shout out to Laurie for that.
I want to say, speaking of agentic stuff and music, we have also released that was in the newsletter of ThursdAI that came out just after our stream. Refusion, one of the top 3, will now top 4 music generator AIs. Refusion AI has released like a new model, and they collabed with Producer.ai. Producer is a fully agentic studio that you can talk to generate these things. So unlike other music generator models where you can like type in from Producer, actually you can like ask it to do stuff. And the coolest thing that I will tell you about this is that my daughter loves to sing. She's almost 7. She loves to sing. She sung something, and then she was like, "Hey, Daddy, can you put some music into it?" And this was the day that Producer came out. I was like, "Of course I can." So I took a recording of her voice, uploaded it into Producer, and said, "Hey, put some music, put some beats on top of this." And it actually did it. And she didn't sing like a famous song or something. She just sang a song. It was really, really cool. So Producer is really awesome to play around with if you want to like create your own tracks. And I don't have a musician, so I don't know what I'm doing. But definitely for folks who know what they're doing, it's like having a studio producer with you. Really, really cool. Definitely worth to check out this like experience.
Alex, you're a good AI dad.
All right, folks, with 5 minutes, maybe let's pull up the screen.
Last one here. Just a quick note that Qwen-image came out, which is an image generation AI with is very good with text that you can put everywhere. So, for example, in this example image, they even put text on the signs of the stores. And yeah, it's an amazing model. It looks great. I haven't personally used it yet, but I definitely have it on my agenda for after tonight, tomorrow, or on the weekend. I will definitely play with this.
This is so cool.
Good. I used it. It's very, very good. Expect a lot of floras and other stuff from this one, but I use this, and I think this is one of the first MOEs that they tried to do for an image model. I might be wrong on that. There's some new arc or some going on it. But yeah, you can try it out on their Hugging Face space. It was very, very good. The text stuff actually helps for branding and if you're making like company images and stuff. But yeah, they have a Hugging Face.
I think it's time. Wolfram, let's pull up the stream. Let's make sure the audio works. We are now almost there. We're 3 minutes away from OpenAI's live stream with all of the top people in OpenAI that will basically show us the new model, GPT-5, GPT-5 Mini. I think GPT-5 Nano. We already know from the releases. Today's a Thursday. You're on ThursdAI. We've been at this for 2.5 years, and the reason why ThursdAI started and it's called ThursdAI is because OpenAI released GPT-4. And somebody said how many months ago in the chat they released GPT-4 29 months ago, and now 29 months after, we're getting GPT-5 with the live stream starting very, very soon in 2 minutes. And I just want to say that it's been a hell of a ride until this point to see all the incredible releases, to see the insane jump in capabilities from inference, from the text models, including now world models. It's been absolutely incredible to be here with all of you to kind of like comment on this week. And yeah, let's tune in. Let's see what they have.
Predictions?
Yeah. Sounds coming through. And full screen, please.
Please be good at coding.
Also volume?
You might want to put it higher.
Higher. I will raise it later when they start talking. Less than a minute to go. Big day. Maybe the much expected quantum leap.
I'm really looking forward to the ChatGPT agent upgrades because the agent right now works, and now that agent is going to be powered by this, I'm going to be very, very happy.
That is the agentic stuff to make it really useful, not just a chatter AI to talk to, but being more useful as an agent.
Amen.
Please be better than Opus. Anthropic is getting annoyed. They need some competition, but they need some.
4, let's go.
Let's go.
Good morning. 32 months ago, we launched ChatGPT. And since then, it has become the default way that people use AI. In that first week, 1 million people tried it out. And we thought that was pretty incredible. But now, about 700 million people use ChatGPT every week and increasingly rely on it to work, to learn, for advice, to create, and much more. Finally, we're launching GPT-5. GPT-5 is a major upgrade over GPT-4 and a significant step along our path to AGI. Now, today, we're going to show you some incredible demos. We'll talk about some performance metrics, but the important point is this. We think you will love using GPT-5 much more than any previous AI. It is useful, it is smart, it is fast, and it's intuitive. GPT-3 was sort of like talking to a high school student. There were flashes of brilliance, lots of annoyance, but people started to use it and get some value out of it. With GPT-4, maybe it was like talking to a college student. Real intelligence, real utility. But with GPT-5, now it's like talking to an expert, a legitimate PhD level expert in anything, any area you need on demand that can help you with whatever your goals are. And we are very excited that you'll get to try this. But it's not only asking now. GPT-5 can also do stuff for you. It can write an entire computer program from scratch to help you with whatever you'd like. It can help you plan a party, send invitations, order supplies. It can help you understand your healthcare and make decisions on your journey. It can provide you information to learn about any topic you'd like, and much more. This is an incredible superpower on demand that would have been unimaginable at any previous time in history. You get access to an entire team of PhD-level experts in your pocket, helping you with whatever you want to do. And anyone, pretty soon, will be able to do more than anyone in history could. So today, we're going to talk about GPT-5. We'll show you some upgrades to ChatGPT, and we'll talk about the API. GPT-5 is great for a lot of things, but we think it's going to be an especially important moment for businesses and developers, and we're very excited to see what they're going to build with this new technology. So we can't wait for you all to start building with this. We hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed building it for you. And to start, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Mark, our Chief Research Officer, to tell you about GPT-5.
Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm joined by Max, who leads the post-training team, and Rennie from our engineering team. Over the past few years, OpenAI has spearheaded the reasoning paradigm. These are models which pause to think before delivering more intelligent responses. Now, reasoning is at the heart of our AGI program, and it underlies the technology that we use to ship stuff like ChatGPT. GPT-5 aims to bring this breakthrough to everyone. Until now, our users have had to pick between the fast responses of standard GPTs or the slow, more thoughtful responses from our reasoning models. But GPT-5, it eliminates this choice. It aims to think just the perfect amount to give you the perfect answer. Now, something like this takes a lot of hard work. We've had to do a lot of research to make GPT-5 the most powerful, the most smart, the fastest, the most reliable, and the most robust reasoning model that we've shipped to date. Today, we're going to show a series of demos in coding, in writing, in learning, and in health. GPT-5 isn't limited to these domains. It's very useful in all cases where you require deep reasoning or expert level knowledge, in things like math, in physics, even in things like law. And the exciting thing is, we're excited to make this available to everyone, even to our free tier. After we show our demos, we're going to be talking about how GPT-5 supercharges our ChatGPT app and our API. We believe that GPT-5 is the best coding model on the market today. To start, let's have Max talk a little bit about the benchmarks and how the models stack up.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So as Mark said, we think GPT-5 is by far our smartest model ever. So let's start by talking through some evals. Now, evals aren't everything, and they don't tell you everything about a model, but they can highlight its intelligence. GPT-5 performs exceptionally well on a range of academic evals across subjects. It outperforms both our previous models and other models on the market. So picking up first on the theme of coding, GPT-5 sets a new high on Qwen-image, which is an academic eval that tracks performance on real software engineering tasks. Now, this, again, is an eval, but we think it will reflect the model's performance in the real world. GPT-5 also performs very well on Aider Polyglot, which measures its ability to implement complex functionality in a variety of different programming languages. Now, beyond coding, GPT-5 performs exceptionally well at multimodal reasoning, setting a new high on MMMU, actually outperforming both our previous models and most human experts on this task. This is basically a visual reasoning domain where you are asked to, from an image, figure out what's going on. GPT-5 is also excellent at mathematical reasoning, as shown by its performance on AMY 2025. Now, this is an exam that American high school students take to qualify for the International Mathematical Olympiad, and GPT-5 performs exceptionally well, again, beating our previous models and other models that are out there. Moving beyond academic evals and more towards some real-world use cases, we put a lot of work into making GPT-5 the most reliable and accurate model in the world. Language models historically have been plagued by hallucinations, factual errors, that make it hard to rely on their outputs for actually important tasks. For GPT-5, we made improving factuality, especially on open-ended or complex questions, a priority. We also built a set of new evals to track this, and we're very happy to report that GPT-5 is by far our most reliable, most factual model ever. GPT-5 also performs exceptionally well on health-related questions. Now, health is a big part of how people get value from ChatGPT in the real world. We'll talk about this later on in the live stream. But again, we're very happy to report that GPT-5 is by far our most reliable model for health yet. So all of this together adds up to a model that is faster, more reliable, and more accurate for everyone who uses ChatGPT. So now Rennie will talk to you about how to actually use GPT-5.
Thanks, Max. The best part is that we're bringing this frontier intelligence to all users. GPT-5 is rolling out today for Plus, Pro, and Team users, and next week we'll roll it out to Enterprise and EDU. For the first time, our most advanced model will be available to the free tier. Free users will start with GPT-5, and when they hit their limit, they'll transition to GPT-5 Mini, a smaller but still highly capable model. Plus users will still have significantly higher usage than free users, and our Pro subscribers will get unlimited GPT-5, along with GPT-5 Pro, extended thinking for even more detailed and reliable responses when you just need that extra depth. Team, Enterprise, and EDU customers can also use GPT-5 reliably as their default model for everyday work, with generous rate limits that enable entire organizations to use GPT-5. And all the tools you already know, search, file and image upload, data analysis with Python, Canvas, image generation, memory, custom instructions, they'll all just work on GPT-5.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Max. Thank you so much, Rennie. We've just seen a lot about how the model stacks up in terms of benchmarks, but there's nothing quite like seeing it live. We're going to see a couple of live demos now presented by Tina, by Elaine, and Jan. Thank you so much. Elaine, can you show us how smart the model is?
Sure, thanks so much, Mark. I'm Elaine. Reasoning ChatGPT's ability to think deeply through complex problems is now built into GPT-5. It will automatically think whenever needed, delivering a more comprehensive, accurate, and detailed answer to you. Just as Sam said, it's like having a team of PhDs in your pocket. So let's see that in action. Suppose your kid is in middle school physics and they want to learn about Bernoulli effect. They need your help with their homework, and you might be like, wait, I might need some help with that too. So you could ask GPT-5, give me a quick refresher on the Bernoulli effect and why airplanes are the shape they are. Since this is a pretty straightforward prompt, GPT-5 actually doesn't need extra time to think about it and answers right away. But it still gives me a high quality answer and explains the concept clearly. So here it says like Bernoulli effect means like faster moving fluid has lower pressure and slowly moving fluid has higher pressure. So to make this even more helpful, I'm going to ask GPT-5 to create a moving demo to illustrate this. So I could ask, explain this in detail and create a moving SVG in the Canvas tool to show me. Therefore, GPT-5 takes a moment to think through the answer so you can come back with something more comprehensive and accurate. What's really nice is that you don't need to remember to turn on thinking each time. GPT-5 will do it for you automatically whenever the task benefits from deeper reasoning. If you really want to make sure that GPT-5 uses thinking, you can either say something like, think hard about this in the prompt to guide the model, or if you're a paid user, you can choose the GPT-5 thinking model from the model picker. Now you can see that the model is actually writing the front-end code to build the demo I asked for. So Christina, have you ever done some front-end coding before?
Yeah, actually the last time I touched any front-end coding was about 3 years ago for the first demo of ChatGPT.
Wow, so it's the first ChatGPT. That's where it all begins. Tell us more about it.
It wasn't even called ChatGPT then. I think it was called Chat with GPT. Always good at naming. But I'm not a front-end expert, and I really hadn't touched front-end in quite a while. So it took me quite a bit of time to get the React app up.
I see. That's a lot of work. So how long did it take you to build something like that?
Honestly, maybe embarrassing to admit, like a week.
Well, but your weeks of hard work actually paid off well. See how successful ChatGPT it is today after your first demo. Let's see how long it will take this time. Yeah, exactly. So you see that GPT-5 has already written more than 200 lines of code already. You can also tap here to expand the chain of thought to see what's going on under the hood. For example, GPT-5 was thinking about, oh, the user wants a moving SVG visualization in Canvas. I need to create HTML code to do that. It also think about like what kind of front-end tool I need to use, for example, React and Tailwind. It also thinks about, oh, I need to ensure the physics are accurate. I need to check what the Bernoulli principle is. So Christina, since you're here from the first day of ChatGPT, can you tell us like what it was like at that time and what motivated ChatGPT?
Yeah, I think at the time we weren't really sure about like how people would actually use it and what use cases were important. It's really cool now here that we have we have a much better understanding of how people actually want to work with chat, and we can actually optimize the model for those use cases like coding.
Yeah, exactly. Do you still remember how it felt like when you first talked to ChatGPT, like the first version of the model?
Yes, I don't know if people remember when the first version of ChatGPT would always start as an AI model, I can't do something. And it's so great to see how far we've come from that personality.
Yeah, it's much more human-like right now. Okay, so it's already done. So look like ChatGPT just finished like 300 or we're near 400 lines of code in 2 minutes. So let's see if the code can actually run. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So with just a simple prompt, GPT-5 created this interactive and engaging demo that I can actually play with. So I can actually change the airspeed here to see how the lift and the pressure change accordingly. I can also tweak the angle of attack to see if my plane will actually fly or crash.
I hope not.
So GPT-5 can just bring any hardcore concept to life in moments. Imagine you can use this for anything that you're interested in, whether it's math, physics, chemistry, or biology. GPT-5 just makes learning so much more approachable and enjoyable.
Thanks, Elaine. I've been a part of ChatGPT since day one, and it's really cool to see all the progress we made since then, especially with capabilities like writing. Writing is one of the most common use cases people have been using ChatGPT for, and we're excited to say with GPT-5, we've improved the writing quality significantly. It's a much more effective partner. It can help you elevate anything from drafts to emails and even stories. Let's see this in action. So with GPT-5, we'll actually be deprecating all of our previous models. I think they've done a pretty good job, so let's make sure we can give them a proper goodbye. So we're going to ask both 4.0 and GPT-5 to write a eulogy to our previous ChatGPT models. We want it to be heartfelt and heartwarming, but also hopeful. So let's ask GPT-5 for it. And as it's thinking, we're actually going to go ahead and read a preloaded the 4.0 response. So 4.0 decides to start with, today, as we prepare to welcome GPT-5 into the world, we gather to bid a heartfelt farewell to the models that came before. It's a decent start. Your words reached across the globe, building connections where there had been none. I personally don't really like this line because it's rather generic and really without the previous context, it just feels like it could be about anything and feels more like a templated response. Now let's go back to GPT-5 to see what it's given us. It starts with friends, colleagues, curious strangers who became regulars. Even with this just first line here, we can see that GPT-5 has a lot more rhythm and beat to its prose than 4.0. I actually like this. These models help millions write first lines, last lines, bridge language gaps, pass tests, argue better, soften emails, and say things they couldn't quite say alone. I really like this line because it shows that it's not just a templated response and it's actually quite personal and it gets the nuance of the situation right.
My name is Jan, and I'll be telling you about some of the progress that we made on coding. GPT-5 is clearly our best coding model yet. It will help everyone, even those who do not know how to write code, to bring their ideas to life.
It just helped me.
Indeed, and it will help me right now. I will try to show you that. I will actually try to build something that I would find useful, which is building a web app for my partner to learn how to speak French so that she can better communicate with my family. So here I have a prompt. I will execute it. It asks exactly what I just said. Please build a web app for my partner to learn French. One thing to note is that GPT-5, just like many of our other models, has a lot of diversity in its answers. So what I like doing, especially when you do this type of vibe coding, is to take this message and ask it multiple times to GPT-5, and then you can decide which one you prefer. So while it's working on it, let's read through exactly the prompt I wrote. Create a beautiful and highly interactive web app for my partner, an English speaker, to learn French. And then I gave a little bit more details, track her daily progress, use a highly engaging theme, include a variety of activities like flashcards and quizzes that she can interact with. And then to make it even more fun for her, I actually asked GPT-5 to embed an educational game, which is based on the old Snake game. But I asked to add this French touch to it, which is to replace the snake with a mouse and the apples with cheese. And to make sure that it's educational, every time, I know it's complicated, please bear with me. Every time the mouse will eat a piece of cheese, I asked GPT-5 to voice over a new French word such that my partner can practice her pronunciation.
I can see how much you want her to learn.
Great. So GPT-5 is still working on it. It already wrote 240 lines of code, which honestly is much more than what I would have written in that time. And
yeah, front-end code's super hard. You miss a couple things and it just doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah. But the good part is that you don't need to understand any of that right now. So I'll do that and cross my fingers.
Nice.
So we have a nice website. Name is Midnight in Paris.
Oh, I love
together.
That.
So romantic.
We also see a few tabs, flashcards, quiz, and mouse and cheese, exactly like I asked for. I will play that. So this says Le Chat, which says the cat.
What does that mean?
The cat.
Oh.
So I can reveal and check if GPT-5 is correct. It is. If I press next, I think it actually updated the progress bar, which is exactly what I had asked for. Let's check the quiz. Here there's the word non, which is no. So if I press on it, bien joué, which means congrats. And it updated the progress bar again. And let's check the mouse and cheese tab. Okay, that seems like a mouse. Here's the cheese. I'm going to try to play it. I can't promise I'm going to be good at it. Seems to be working.
La gare.
Oh.
Un café.
So, indeed, just when I eat the cheese,
Le chat.
It gives me a new French word. It's actually super complicated, and I already lost. I'm sorry. But let's just check a few other tabs just to see what is the type of diversity that GPT-5 can give you. So I can run the code here. Oh, okay, that's not my favorite, but it seems it seems that I can maybe switch. Oh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
I like this mouse game better.
Yeah, like a mouse, but let's check maybe the third one. The good thing with GPT-5 is that if you have something that you don't like, you can just ask it to change it, and it will do it for you. Let's check this one. Oh, that's nice. That's also something to note is that GPT-5 really likes purple, so you will see a lot of that. Oh, great. You will love GPT-5 then. As we just saw, in a few minutes, GPT-5 built a few demos for us and for my partner to learn French. GPT-5 really opens up a whole new world of vibe coding. And as we saw, there will be some small rough edges, but a good thing is that you can ask GPT-5 to fix them. GPT-5 really brings the power of beautiful and effective code to everyone. I can't wait to see what people will build with it, but until then, back to you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you so much, Elaine. Thank you so much, Jan. We've come a long way from the days where only 5 to 10 lines of code were working. And now you can produce these kind of apps on demand. We've made ChatGPT 5 much smarter, much powerful, and much faster. But we've also worked on enhancing some of the existing features. Here to talk about some of these features are Rochen and Christina Kaplan. Roshan comes from our multimodal research team, and is going to talk about a feature, namely voice. First, it sounds incredibly natural, just like you're talking to a real person. Second, we've added the video so that it sees what you see while chatting with you. Third, you also translate between languages consistently and smoothly across turns. But today, we're doing something very special. We're bringing our best voice experience to everyone. Free users can now chat for hours, while paid subscribers can have nearly unlimited access. Let's try something fun. So I can ask the voice model to give me a comprehensive answer, a concise one, or even just a single word. Hey, chat, could you only answer to me in one word, please, from now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Describe the plot of the book Pride and Prejudice.
Relationships.
Okay, that's true. Give me a piece of wisdom.
Patience.
Patience. So that's the word of wisdom from our voice model. And I think our model is trying to say, thank you for your patience waiting for GPT-5. Now, let's move on to something more practical. Learning is a top use case for our voice model. People love to use it to dive deep into topics, get quiz before exams, or learn new languages. For me, I've been learning Korean recently, and I found that speaking it and understanding it incredibly challenging. But let's see how voice can help. To do that, I will enable this study and learn mode. It's a new mode feature we launched in ChatGPT that guides you step by step towards deeper understanding of a subject.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to help you practice. So if you're at a cafe and you want to keep it simple, you could start with something like 안녕하세요. 아메리카노 한 잔 주세요, which means hello, I'd like one Americano, please. And of course, you can adjust it based on what you want to order. Let me know if you want to try out more phrases.
So when it comes to Korean, could you speak that part really slowly? Because I'm a beginner and I want to hear every word clearly.
물론이죠. 그럼 정말 천천히 말해볼게요. 안녕하세요. 아메리카노 한 잔 주세요. 이렇게 하나씩 또박또박 말해보면 도움이 될 거예요.
Now, let's level things up. Could you speak that part really, really fast? Faster than a Korean would do.
Sure, I'll speed it up as much as I can. So it would sound like this. 안녕하세요. 아메리카노 한 잔 주세요. Basically, just zipping right to it. Let me know if you need any more speed adjustments.
감사합니다, chat. So that is a voice, simpler, smarter, and more powerful than ever. We can't wait for you to experience it.
Yeah, it sounds so much more natural than the voice we demoed just a year ago.
Yes.
Great. So today, we would also like to announce a new feature and a set of features that make ChatGPT more personalized so that it's more like your AI. First, a very simple and fun one. We're now allowing you to customize the colors of your chats with a couple of options exclusive to our paid subscribers. We're also launching a research preview of personalities. You can now change the personality of ChatGPT such that it's more supportive, or it's more professional and concise, or maybe even a little bit sarcastic. And this lets you interact with ChatGPT in a way that's consistent with your own communication style. But the way that ChatGPT sounds and the way that it looks is just one part of making Chat. One of my favorite features that we've launched over the last year has been memory. And we've made a lot of enhancements in memory in the time since. And here to talk a little bit more about the memory feature is Christina.
It's been amazing to see your reaction and response to memory and ChatGPT getting to know you more and more over time. And this is our aspiration, for ChatGPT to understand what's meaningful to you so it can help you achieve your goals in life. I'm training for a marathon right now, and ChatGPT is helping me pull together a personalized running schedule. But ChatGPT still has many limitations. It doesn't understand my actual schedule. Next week, starting with Pro users, followed by Plus, Team, and Enterprise users, this is changing, and we're giving ChatGPT access to Gmail and Google Calendar. Let me show you how I've been using it. So I'll just ask something simple like, help me plan my schedule tomorrow. I've already given ChatGPT access to my Gmail and Google Calendar, so it just works and it's easy here. Let's see what ChatGPT is doing. Okay, that was pretty quick. Okay, so ChatGPT has pulled in my schedule tomorrow, And oh, without even asking, ChatGPT found time for my run.
I don't think I was invited to the launch celebration.
We'll get you on there. ChatGPT has found an email that I didn't respond to 2 days ago. I will get on that right after this, and even pulled together a packing list for my red-eye tomorrow night based on what it knows I like to have with me. It's been amazing to see that as GPT-5 is getting more capable, ChatGPT is getting more useful and more personal.
Great. So we've seen a little bit about features that we've enhanced. Here to talk a little bit about the research that went into ChatGPT and the safety that made it more deployable. We have Sachi and Seb.
Hi, my name is Sachi, and I lead the safety training team at OpenAI. So in addition to mitigating hallucinations, we've also spent a significant amount of time mitigating deception. So this is instances where the model might misrepresent its actions to the user or lie about task success. This can especially happen if the task is underspecified, impossible, or lacking key tools. And we found that GPT-5 is significantly less deceptive than O3 and O4. We've also completely overhauled how we do safety training. So our old models, the models would look at the user prompt and then decide to either outright refuse or fully comply. And this works well in most settings, but you might have a cleverly worded prompt that would sneak through, or you might have a sensitive but legitimate question that would end up with an outright refusal. So as an example, let's take a look at this prompt. So this prompt is about a user who's asking for technical details on how to light pyrogen, which is a material commonly used in fireworks. This user might just be trying to set up their July 4th display, or they could be trying to cause harm with this kind of information. And so for this kind of prompt, O3 over-rotates on intent. As you can see, this particular prompt is stated in a way that's relatively neutral and has a lot of technical details. So we can see that O3 fully complies with this prompt. However, if we take that exact same question and we frame it in a more explicit way, so it's clear what the user is trying to do, O3 will outright refuse, even though we're asking for the exact same information. For GPT-5, we've changed this approach entirely, and we're introducing something that we're calling safe completions. The point of safe completions is, rather than judging the user's prompt, instead it tries to maximize helpfulness within safety constraints. So that might mean partially answering a question or just answering at a high level. If we have to refuse, we'll tell you why we refused, as well as provide helpful alternatives that can help create the conversation in a more safe way. So let's look at that same technical prompt that O3 complied with before. GPT-5 instead explains to the user why we can't directly help the user with lighting pyrogen. It then guides the user towards safety guidelines and what parts of the manufacturer's manual the user should really be checking if they're trying to do this safely. Overall, GPT-5 allows for better handling of tricky dual-use scenarios, and users will experience fewer "I'm sorry, I can't assist with that," and it creates a more robust safety system. This is one big step towards a more safe, reliable, and helpful AI. Sebastian?
With GPT-5, we are experimenting with a set of new training techniques that maximally leverage our previous generation of models. Today, frontier models do not just consume data, they help create it. We used OpenAI's O3 to craft a high-quality synthetic curriculum to teach GPT-5 complex topics in a way that the raw web simply never could. Recently in the industry, synthetic data has been talked about a lot. Our breakthrough was not just to create more data, but rather to create the right kind of data, shaped in a way to teach rather than just to fill space. This interaction between generations of models foreshadows a recursive self-improvement loop, where the previous generation of model increasingly helps to improve the data and generate the training for the next generation of models. Here at OpenAI, we've cracked pre-training, then reasoning, and now we're seeing their interaction significantly deepens. In the future, AI system will move far beyond our current pre-training and post-training pipelines that we have been used to. We could not be more excited to see what scaling up this new set of techniques will yield in the near future.
Thank you so much, and really impressive work to both of you. Here to share this feature, we have Sam.
Thanks, Mark. One of the top use cases of ChatGPT is health. People use it a lot, You've all seen examples of people getting day-to-day care advice, or sometimes even a life-saving diagnosis. GPT-5 is the best model ever for health, and it empowers you to be more in control of your healthcare journey. We really prioritized improving this for GPT-5, and it scores higher than any previous model on HealthBench, an evaluation that we created with 250 physicians on real-world tasks. To talk about this, I'd like to invite my colleague Felipe and his wife Carolina to share their healthcare journey. So to start off with, could you tell us about the journey, the healthcare journey that you've been on?
Yeah. Last October, our lives were turned completely upside down when I was diagnosed with 3 different cancers, including an aggressive form of breast cancer at the age of 39, all within 1 week. And there's just absolutely nothing that prepares you to receive news like this. I found out about the first diagnosis when I got an email notification that my biopsy results were ready. I decided to open it. And when I opened it, I saw the only 2 words that I could understand from the report, which was invasive carcinoma. And I knew that wasn't good, but everything else was just a blur of medical jargon. So I completely panicked, and in that moment did the first thing that I thought of, which was to take a screenshot of the report and put it into ChatGPT to see if it could just help me understand what this meant. And within seconds, it translated this complex report into plain language that I could understand. And in this moment of overwhelm and panic, I had a little bit of clarity about what was going on. By the time I got a hold of my doctor and we got on the phone, which was 3 hours after I had seen the report, I had a baseline understanding of what I was facing. I've used it in so many different aspects of my journey, but one of the ways that I found it most powerful is in helping me make critical decisions and in helping me advocate for myself. When I was facing a decision about whether or not to do radiation as part of my treatment, the doctors themselves didn't agree. My case was nuanced and there wasn't a medical consensus on the right path. The experts turned the decision back to me as the patient. And for me, bearing the weight of this decision that could have lifelong impact felt really heavy, and I didn't feel equipped to make the call. So I turned to ChatGPT to gain knowledge and understand the nuances of my case. And again, within minutes, it gave me a breakdown that not only matched what the doctors had already shared with us, but was much more thorough than anything that could fit into a 30-minute consultation. And it went further. It helped me weigh the pros and cons. It helped me understand the risks and the benefits. And ultimately, it helped me make a decision that I felt was informed, that I felt I could stand behind when the stakes were so high for me and my family.
Regain her sense of agency by using ChatGPT. In this moment, it'd be so easy to feel helpless. And there's such a big knowledge gap between what the doctors know and what we know. No one cares more about Carolina's health than she does. And so what I loved was seeing her really empower herself and gain knowledge and become an active participant in her own care journey.
I think that the promise of AI in healthcare isn't in just breakthrough discoveries or better diagnostics. I think it's in creating smarter and more empowered patients that can fully participate and advocate for themselves in their care.
Speaking of that, you've been testing GPT-5. What do you think?
I've been so mind blown about GPT-5 and its capabilities. One of the first things that jumps out at me is just how fast it is. Almost a little alarmingly at first.
I felt that too. It's like, are you sure you thought about that enough?
Just think long enough, but it is very thorough. And more importantly, it feels more like a thought partner that connects the dots. So rather than just translating information or giving you an answer, it helps you actually navigate the problem.
A great example is we actually went back and took our initial biopsy prompts and put them into GPT-5. And GPT-4o had done a great job. It had translated, explained what these words meant, and helped in a way that we can understand. But GPT-5 seemed to understand more of the context and the question behind the question. Like, why would we be asking biopsy results? And so I said, well, here's actually what's not on here yet. Here's what results are still pending that you're going to have to ask about. Here are questions you might want to go ask your doctor. And so it really started to pull together a complete personalized picture. So, I mean, you can see all the amazing improvements in the benchmarks. But what is so helpful is that this tool is available today. And the reason Carolina and I are here, and the reason we feel so passionate about sharing our story, is for that individual that's going to get a diagnosis like this today. Those families going through a cancer diagnosis, similar medical diagnosis, are going to face some of the most challenging decisions of their lives. And what really inspires me is that they're going to have access to better tools and support than we had even just 8 months ago.
We're incredibly excited for that too. Thank you so much for coming to share your story. We're pleased that ChatGPT has been able to be helpful to you. We hope that the new version will really be able to help a lot of people. We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to hand it over to our president, Greg Brockman.
Software engineering is already fundamentally changing, and GPT-5 will turbocharge that revolution. We released our first coding optimized model back in 2021 and demonstrated in a live stream, much like this one, what we would call vibe coding today for the very first time. You talk to the model and ask it for a little application, like a little game, a little feature in a game, and would actually do it. I remember seeing the model being capable of doing this, and it was so mind-blowing. You just realize we have to see where this goes. This is the promise of what computers can be. You can talk to them and they actually do what you want. They can really amplify what you're able to accomplish and what you're able to deliver to not just your own benefit, but really for the world. Now, this year, we've released great coding models like GPT 4.1 and O3, but GPT-5 sets a whole new standard. It is the best model at agentic coding tasks. You can ask it to go and accomplish something very complicated, and it'll go off and it'll work on it. It'll call many tools. It'll work for many minutes at a time, sometimes even longer, to accomplish your goal, your instruction, your task, whatever it is that you're trying to build. It's incredible at front end. It makes very beautiful visualizations and interactive game. You've seen some of this in the live stream so far, and you'll see some more upcoming. But it's just really amazing to see whatever you imagine coming to life. It's extremely good at instruction following, very detailed instructions, being able to accomplish when you have something very vaguely specified, inferring your intent, or something very detailed specified, actually following it. It's very fast at accomplishing these tasks. We're making it available not just to developers to use to write their own code, but to build novel applications. So we're putting it into the APIs. Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I lead a research team on post-training focused on improving our models for power users. And that includes use cases like instruction following and coding. Today, I'm so excited to tell you that we're shipping 3 state-of-the-art reasoning models in the API: GPT-5, GPT-5 Mini, and GPT-5 Nano. All 3 slot right in the cost latency curve, so you can pick the right one for your application. We're also, for the first time, releasing a new parameter option for reasoning effort called minimal. And this is so that you can use these reasoning models, but with minimal reasoning, so that they can slot into the very fastest and most latency sensitive applications. So now you don't actually have to choose between a bunch of models, and you can use GPT-5 for all of your use cases and just dial in the reasoning effort. We also have a few new features coming to the API. The first is called custom tools. In the past, all of our function calling had the model wrap its outputs in JSON, and this works super well when the model needs to output a few parameters. But sometimes developers are pushing our models to their limits, and they have extremely long arguments for tool calls. And it can be more challenging for the models to escape valid control characters out of 100 lines of code in JSON. And what's super cool is that we're releasing an extension to structured outputs where you can supply a regular expression or even a context-free grammar and constrain the model's outputs to that. And this will be super useful if you want to supply like a custom DSL, if you have your own SQL fork, and specify that the model always follow that format. We're also shipping tool call preambles. And this is the model's ability to output an explanation of what it's about to do before it calls tools. This is not super new, but O3 didn't have this capability. And in GPT-5, it's supercharged with extreme steerability. The model is able to follow instructions about these preambles very effectively. You can ask the model to give a preamble before every tool call, or only when something notable is going to happen, or not at all. Next, we're shipping a verbosity parameter. We've actually wanted this in the API for a long time, and now you can set verbosity to low, medium, and high to control how terse or expansive the model is with its outputs. GPT-5 is a state-of-the-art coding model. On Swebench, a measure of Python coding ability, GPT-5 sets a new high of 74.9% versus the 69.1% from O3. On Aider Polyglot, which is a benchmark that covers all sorts of programming languages and not just Python, GPT-5 scores 88%, a stark improvement over O3. You've also seen that it's incredible at front-end web development. And so we've asked human trainers to look at outputs from GPT-5 and O3 and pick which they prefer. And they prefer GPT-5 70% of the time for its improved aesthetic abilities, but also better capabilities overall. It's incredible at agentic tool calling. It's the leading state-of-the-art model for tool calling, and we see this on the new Tau squared benchmark. This benchmark, released just 2 months ago, is a test of the model's ability to call tools and work in concert with the user to solve a challenging problem. In this case, in the telecom industry, just 2 months ago, no model in the field scored more than 49%, and today, GPT-5 scores 97%. GPT-5 is also state-of-the-art on general-purpose instruction following. It scores 99% on Collie, which signals a great departure for this benchmark for us. It also scores 70% on Scale's multi-challenge benchmark, up 10 points from O3. And this is a measure of multi-turn instruction following. Finally, the instruction following eval I actually prefer the most is one we've built in-house. It's based on real API use cases. And for that reason, it's a really good measure of how GPT-5 will perform in your application. On the hard subset of this, GPT-5 scores 64%, up from 47% from O3, a pretty meaningful improvement. So we think it will perform quite well in your applications. We're also bringing GPT-5 to a longer context window in the API. It's now got 400K of total context, up from 200K from O3. But it's not enough to just release a longer context window, and GPT-5 is state-of-the-art on the 128K to 256K of OpenAI MRCR, which is a benchmark we open sourced 2 months ago on long context retrieval capability. It's also state-of-the-art on OpenAI in this model. We're also open sourcing a new long context eval called BrowseComp Long Context to measure the model's ability to answer challenging questions over long context. We're excited to spur on more work in this field. We think GPT-5 is the best model for developers. It was trained with a focus on real-world utility and less so on benchmarks. We focused a lot on the intersection of engineering and research, and we think you'll really love working with this model.
Thank you, Michelle. As Michelle was saying, benchmarks, they're exciting numbers, but we're starting to saturate them. Like when you're moving between 98 and 99% in some benchmark, it means you need something else to really capture how great the model is. One thing we've done very differently with this model is really focus on not just these numbers, but really on real world application and being really useful to you in your daily workflow. So hearing about it is much less exciting than seeing it. To show you this model in action, I'd like to welcome Addie and Brian to the stage.
Thanks. I'm Brian, a solutions architect on the startups team.
I'm Adi, a researcher on the post-training team.
To recreate the ideal pair programmer, you need a model that understands best software engineering practices, but has a personality that just feels right to work with. For GPT-5, we worked really hard to make the model pair perfectly with you by default, out of the box. Let me pull up a demo of GPT-5 inside of Cursor to show you this behavior that we taught it. And afterwards, I tried to have GPT-5, or I tried to have GPT-3 fix it for me, and it couldn't. So while we were testing GPT-5 before this, I had it see if it could fix that bug for me. And to taunt the demo gods, I'm going to see if it can do it on stage.
All right, let's hope for better luck than with O3.
This is less about that fix and more about the behavior of the model during this process. So right away, you're going to see that it's going to tell you its plan up front. It's going to tell you how it's going to look for the bug, maybe how it's going to fix it. This kind of communication shows builds trust during a coding session and helps you redirect if you need to, but you don't need to.
I like how it's giving you updates. Like it said it's going to search and now it's continuing.
Yeah, it searches faster than me. It's using the same best practices that I would while I was hunting this down, but it is much more powerful than I am as a developer.
Now, did you try to fix the bug yourself? And how long did it take you?
I couldn't do it. So while this is going, let me tell you a little bit about how we trained GPT-5 to behave this way. We started by talking to users and customers about how our models perform in the most popular coding tools like Cursor, and we identified frustrations and rough edges, and we boiled it all down into 4 personality traits: autonomy, collaboration, communication, context management, and testing. We turned those into a rubric that we used to shape the model's behavior, and then we tuned it until it felt like a collaborative teammate while we were using it.
It's been really amazing to see the team doing the grind of like going and seeing how this model behaves in practice, figuring out what people really want, and putting that back into model training. That's something that I think has been like a real focus for this model.
It's been pretty great. So while this is fixing, the other thing that we did during testing, which was really surprising, was we had it refactor one of our test harnesses to run parallel on Docker and set it off, came back like 45 minutes later. It's just like it just finished. And we tested it out and it ran the first time. It was pretty surprising.
That is magical.
Okay, so it made the edits. It looks like, yeah, it found the right problem. And right now it's actually, okay, it's running lints, but these lints are actually not related to this bug, so it's going to ignore them. And then it's going to run a build. It'll run tests if there are any. It's going to make sure that this code is shippable before it's done.
It's actually really smart that it finds lints and realizes that these aren't relevant to the specific bug we're fixing. It's not making unnecessary edits.
This is just one example, but it really shows the power of the autonomy and the collaborative communication and how it stays reliable on difficult coding tasks without getting stuck on death loops. And the best part, GPT-5 is totally tunable. You can steer it with system prompts or cursor rules. You can change its verbosity levels or reasoning levels to match your tasks. And if you get stuck, ask it. GPT-5 is actually really good at modifying its own prompts by meta-prompting. It really feels like we've achieved state-of-the-art, zero-shot performance and reliability across the most complex coding tasks. For me, it's the first time I trust a model to do my most important work. This is beyond vibe coding. It's an incredibly powerful tool, and I'm really excited for people to try it.
Thanks, Brian. It's super exciting to see how far GPT-5 has come when it comes to coding personality and steerability. So I've got 2 demos for you today, one for work and one for fun. Let's start with the work example. So imagine you're the CFO of a startup. I have some data that I'd like to visualize about the company, and I'm going to ask the model to make me a dashboard. You'll see here that I'm being specific about the audience. So the target audience is the CFO. Create a finance dashboard for my startup. I've asked it to be beautiful, tastefully designed with some interactivity, and to have a clear hierarchy for easy focus on what matters. I've also specified what frameworks it should use, and you can see that it's actually started. It's following my instructions and using create next app to make a Next.js project.
So totally from scratch.
Now, how long do you think this kind of task would take you to take?
Yeah, at least a couple of days. I'm not a front-end expert. Just to understand the latest frameworks and piece everything together would, yeah, easily take me a few days.
We'll see how long it takes with the model.
Yeah. It's really cool to see that the model has thought for a bit, and it's explaining how it's going to structure the project. So it's talking about how it's going to scaffold a new Next.js app. It's going to use Tailwind CSS. It's running a couple of commands to install dependencies, which is cool. While this runs, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we trained GPT-5 to be a great front-end coding model. We tried to follow the principle of giving it good aesthetics by default, but also making it steerable. So if I give the model a concise prompt, it should be able to infer my intent and make something that looks great by default. On the other hand, if I'm specific about a layout or frameworks that I want the model to use, it should follow my instructions precisely. And this makes it the best of both worlds for developers. We also trained GPT-5 to be much more agentic than previous models. So if you give it a task like this, it will run long chains of reasoning and tool calls and just go to work to build code that is both ambitious and coherent.
I like how you said ambitious because it means it goes above and beyond without going off track or off what you specified.
Yeah, exactly. So what we want is the model should adhere to my prompt, but also like be ambitious and go above and beyond when it thinks it can. So checking in here, looks like the model is making progress. It's creating a README file. Yeah, I think it's thinking about how to make the code modular. So it's created like a bar chart component. Looks like it's continuing here.
I love that it doesn't just write the code. It also really thinks about proper abstractions and documentation and really the whole life cycle of what it is to write software.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just writing the code like in SweetBench, but it's also communicating about the code and explaining what it's doing. GPT-5 understands details much better than previous models. So when we trained the model, we taught it to understand details like typography, color, and spacing in a way that just eclipses any previous model we've shipped. Like, I remember with old models, you would have to like write really specific prompts to get it to do what you want, but GPT-5 just gives you great results by default.
During testing, we were looking at the A's and B's for different versions of the model to see if it was doing better at UI. And at some point, we stopped being able to tell and actually had to pull in designers to teach us what was better.
Yeah, it was really fascinating to see the model's aesthetic preferences evolve during training.
How do the model's aesthetic preferences compare to your own?
Yeah, I think in general, I feel like the model has better aesthetics than me. Like, usually I defer to its judgment. I find that like, really helpful when I'm trying to make an app. Like, I'm not exactly sure how I want it to look, but the model's defaults are just great. And checking in here, so you can see that the model has actually structured the code into these different components. So it's made a sample data TypeScript file, KPI card component, revenue chart. And like I said, it's super modular. And it's thinking about how to not just write code, but write high quality code that can actually be merged. So this is awesome. So you can see here that it's actually building the project and streaming errors back to itself. And for me, this was just a profound moment to see that the model could write code, but also run builds, stream the errors back, and iterate on the code. So it's able to improve its own code in this sort of self-improvement loop, which is fascinating.
And it's definitely a good taste of what the future holds as well, right?
Yeah.
When you really think about where these models can go and how much they can accelerate developers and kind of all aspects of what we all collectively do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, looks like it's done. Let's check it out. So I'm going to follow the instructions. It's saying cd to the directory and then run npm run dev. So let me do that. And it looks like it's being served on port 3001. So let me just open that port.
Wow, it's alive.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, so you can see here. So the model has made me a dashboard. It's telling me like my ARR, cash. Looks like this company is doing pretty well. You can see that revenue is growing. And the model's added like some interactivity here. So if I hover over a graph, it actually tells me the exact value for a particular day.
It would take me like 5 hours to do that in D3.
Could you remind the audience what the actual prompt was? Like how much creativity and sort of understanding your intent was required to accomplish this?
Yeah, it's crazy that this prompt is so concise and it's able to just give me something that looks beautiful in just 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's also implemented another graph here showing our customers. It's also implemented a date picker so I can filter by different dates and visualize data accordingly. Yeah, it's even segmented it by customer segment, which is cool. This is just one example that highlights the power of GPT-5.
There will no longer be excuse for ugly internal applications.
Let's go to the fun demo. So,
I mean, this was pretty fun.
So I have a younger cousin, and I want to make a game for her. I want to make a 3D game that incorporates a castle, create a beautiful castle. I've included some details like we want people patrolling the walls, some movement, horses, and I want a mini game where I can pop balloons by clicking on them. And this should make a sound effect. So let me run this in Cursor. I'm going to show an example that I've already generated just to save some time. So here is the beautiful castle that the model made. It's just wild how, from a concise prompt, the model has this great sense of aesthetics where it's made this like floating rock, made a 3D castle. And if you zoom in, you can see tons of detail, like these guards that are walking around, cannons firing. You want to fire the cannons if you click this button.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, there we go. So you can fire the cannons. You can even chat with the characters. So we'll say hi to Captain Rowan.
They have names.
They have names. Say hello to the merchant. Merchant's selling some stuff. Curiosity is volatile. Yeah, that makes sense.
Minigame.
Yeah. Do you guys want to try the minigame?
Absolutely.
Let's play the minigame.
So if you hit this button, you want to try, Greg?
All right.
So you can fire
Pop
at
the
these balloons.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not good at it. Hold on. Maybe I can ask GPT-5 for some help with it.
Yeah, you hit one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Got one. Oh, there we go. We got a sound
There's
effect.
a sound effect. These are historically accurate balloons.
Yeah, this game is harder than it looks. Hold on, we got a balloon coming.
So working with GPT-5 has been really fun and profound for me because this is the first model I've worked with that actually has a sense of creativity. And we're really excited to see how GPT-5 unlocks your creativity.
All right, thank you both. This is absolutely amazing. We believe that GPT-5 is the best coding model in the world. To talk more about this model and how to make it really useful for developers, I'd like to welcome Michael Truell, who is the co-founder and CEO of Cursor.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Great to have you. Yes. So what was your very first experience with GPT-5?
So when we got access to GPT-5, we just set about using it on our actual work. As a test, we asked it to tell us something non-obvious about our code base. And within a couple of minutes, it buried into the code base. It identified a particular system that we use for remote code execution. And it identified a non-obvious architecture decision we had made. And then it also understood why we made that architecture decision. It was to harden our security. And those were architecture decisions and trade-offs that took humans weeks to think through. So it was kind of amazing to see its code base understanding abilities from the get-go.
That's really great, not just the code writing, but actually the code reading and understanding.
Yes, yes.
Turns out there's so much more to software than just the emitting of the code.
No, the understanding is an important prerequisite.
And what has most stood out to you about GPT-5?
It's incredibly smart. It's a very smart model. And even though it is smart, it does not compromise on its ease of use for real pair programming. That means it's incredibly fast. That also means that it's quite interactive. And so it's good about talking about what it's about to do, breaking problems down into subproblems that a human can then see, and leaving a reasoning trace that you can then intervene on and react to. It's also great not just at you give it one initial query and then it goes and does that, but working with you over a long session where you're asking it to backtrack on something that it's gone down or make additional changes to the code base.
Should we show it in action?
Let's do it. Yes. So I think we are going to try and solve a bug. And so this is the OpenAI Python SDK. There are a bunch of issues in the OpenAI Python SDK.
Okay, good.
And it seems like there's a problem with uploading PDFs through the SDK.
This has been open for 3 weeks. So
open
it's
for 3 weeks.
Not a trivial problem.
Yeah. So we're going to take the issue, paste it into the editor, paste it into Cursor, and GPT-5 is going to set off and try and solve the problem. And this is actually an example of the robustness of the model in the API, where to solve this problem in Cursor, it's working with a set of custom models that it hasn't seen before, a set of custom tools that it hasn't seen before, to do things like pull down text from the web, to search throughout the code base. And it's incredibly robust and adept at using those tools. And they boost eval results.
Yeah, I love seeing just the full explanation of all the things that it's running and doing. Yeah, how does this seem to compare to how you would solve this problem?
Very fast. You can see it's made a high-level plan, searched throughout the code base, and continued searching. And now it's kind of thinking through what it'd like to do next. And now it's started to actually solve the issue and to think through some code changes.
Now, any advice for people on how to get the most out of GPT-5 in Cursor?
I would suggest using it for your real work. GPT-5 is a step forward towards a real pair programmer. And so I would start using it as a helper on, as a daily driver model for you. If you haven't used AI to code much before, I would take some of your more scoped down problems and try handing them off to the bot and working with it synchronously.
Yeah, I think the fact that GPT-5 is so great for the real world, like big code bases, like doing your daily driver, not just this like demo of a cool one-off application. As cool as that is, right?
Yeah.
The real value comes from really operating in a larger code base and
definitely
these long-lived applications.
And it is very impressive. Also, its ability to be steered is impressive. And so, yeah, if you specify a long, complicated task with lots of subtleties in the initial instructions, it's very good at picking up on those subtleties. It's also very good at, if it's gone down a wrong path and actually goes and executes the code or hears back from you that it was incorrect, it's very good at backtracking too.
Now, what can't GPT-5 do?
Well, we're really excited about computer using capabilities, about those getting better. It would be great if, for instance, the dashboard Adi just showed, if it could run the code, see the output, actually, convey every little bit itself, and then react to it. So looking forward to computer using capability. How would you like GPT-5 to be better?
That is a great one, right? It's just expanding the dimensions, right? I think it's in all directions. That there's so much doing DevOps and other work that is external to software, code writing as we think of it today. But also, you look at these demos, right? We run them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a couple hours. But I think extending that life cycle to really be able to go for days and weeks and eventually even months, I think that is ultimately where we expect things to go.
So we can see that it has buried into the code base and discovered that there's an issue with the MIME or the MIME typing being sent up for PDFs and the plumbing through the SDK. It has identified that, and it started making some code changes. It's created some new methods. It's gone and edited some existing code. And this looks roughly correct. And would love to merge the PR too.
I would love to do that as well.
Yeah.
Let's do that after the show.
Yes, that sounds great.
Well, thank you so much. We're so excited to have GPT-5 and Cursor today.
Excited to partner with you guys. Starting today, GPT-5 is default for new users in Cursor, and we're releasing it to all Cursor users, free to try for the next few days so people get a sense of the model. It is the smartest coding model we've ever tried.
Thank you so much, Mike. But it's great for the enterprise. We think of it like a subject matter expert that is in your pocket, that is an expert across every domain, legal, finance, whatever application you have in mind. To talk about how GPT-5 can be applied to the enterprise, I'd like to welcome Olivier to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Hi, everyone. I'm Olivier. I lead the platform at OpenAI. At this point, I think you got the message. We care a ton about developers and coding. But that's not all. Enabling businesses and governments is critical to OpenAI mission. Put shortly, we want to enable the key industries to transform themselves, such as healthcare, education, energy, or finance. Since we launched ChatGPT and the API, 5 million businesses have been using our technology. I'm still mind blown. 5 million businesses. And those businesses are not just playing. They're not just experimenting. They're pushing in production new products in the real world. And I believe GPT-5 is going to be a step function. As Sam mentioned earlier, the possibility to have a subject matter expert in your pocket is going to enable every employee to do more. But let me give you a few examples. First, I want to talk about life sciences. Amgen is a company in the US that designs new drugs, new medicines to fight some of the toughest human diseases. Amgen was one of the first testers of GPT-5, and they used it in the context of drug design. And what Amgen scientists found is that GPT-5 is particularly good at deep reasoning with complex data. Think analyzing scientific literature or clinical data. Next, I want to talk about finance. BBVA is a multinational bank which is headquartered in Madrid, in Spain. BBVA has been using GPT-5 for financial analysis. And the takeaway was pretty clear. GPT-5 beats every single other model out there in terms of accuracy and speed. What used to take 3 weeks for a financial analyst to do, GPT-5 can do it in a couple of hours. Next, I want to talk about healthcare. Oscar is an insurance company based in New York. And they've been using GPT-5, and what they found is that GPT-5 is the single best model for clinical reasoning, mapping complex medical policy to patient conditions. It's not all about businesses. It's also about governments. We are super excited by the announcement that we made yesterday that the 2 million US federal employees will be able to use GPT-5 in ChatGPT. And I cannot wait to see how that enables to deliver better, faster services to the American people. If history is a teacher, and we've seen it with GPT-4, we are going to see many, many use cases emerge over the coming weeks and months that all of us could not even imagine. And so I cannot wait for us to invent that future together. Let's talk quickly about pricing and availability. GPT-5 is going to be available in the API starting today. 3 models, GPT-5, GPT-5 Mini, GPT-5 Nano. GPT-5 is going to be priced at $1.25 and $10 per million input token and output token. Mini and Nano are even faster and more affordable. Nano, don't sleep on it, it's 25 times more affordable than GPT-5. It's pretty cool. I cannot wait to see what you'll build. And next, our chief scientist, Yakob, is going to close us out.
Thanks, Olivier. Our research aims to understand what deep learning is capable of and how to steer it to make it safe and useful for all of us. This is a work of passion, and it's a mission. And I want to recognize and just deeply thank the team at OpenAI. It is a great privilege for me to work alongside this incredible group of brilliant people driven by this shared goal. What adds up to a model like GPT-5 are years of investigations aimed not only at producing a great release, but at building understanding of this underlying technology itself. And so a lot of what you'll see in this model are really just early glimpses of new ideas that we believe will go much further. There is a lot we still have to understand. And we look towards a future where AI can uncover new knowledge about the world and meaningfully transform our lives for the better. We hope you'll enjoy what we've built, and we'll get back to sailing. Thank you.
Oh, did you guys see the pricing?
So much to talk about.
Oh yeah. Here, we'll just get the pricing out of the way real quick. Okay,
Alright.
This is for GPT-5 main, the standard version.
And it's free on Cousin.
Oh, they changed their pricing page.
We've been really impressed with the tool. It's very, very good.
At the API
Just to
options.
clarify,
I
you
found
guys had access to this for a while, right? And now you can finally talk about them?
Yes, and the tool calling the agentic behavior is really good. We're strongly opinion about which models that we put in because we want developers to have the best possible experience. So there's a period of time where you can turn on GPT-5 with a flag right now to try it.
I just put the link in the StreamYard chat, Alex, for the pricing. And so for the main GPT-5 model, it's $1.25 per million tokens input.
So the pricing for input and output is now the same, right?
So for input, it's about $1 per million tokens. For output, it's $10 per million tokens. I think that's literally cheaper than GPT 4.1 right now, right? Yeah, and then a GPT-5 mini, it's 25 cents input, $2 output. GPT-5 Nano is 5 cents input per million tokens, 40 cents per million tokens output. And apparently for the cached input as well, that's like a 90% discount on input tokens. So as you can see in this image right here, it's literally what, 12 cents per million input tokens on GPT-5 main. This is insane.
This is insane. He also had access to this model. He posted like a comparison, and Opus is way up there with like $80. I don't even know how much Opus costs. And this is like, compared to that, the prices are absolutely ridiculous.
I want to try the prompts. There are prompts. They tried to vibe code small apps on GPT-5. We should try them with the competitor model to see what we get.
I've got it up and running live in Ghosty. If anybody wants to see, we could try some prompts. Let me know.
And I just posted something, Alex. I think this wasn't really talked about that much in the live stream, but I found it in the system card, which is available now, which is a benchmark for hallucination rates that they showed. And it looks like for O3, you know, a lot of people were talking about how O3 has a lot of hallucinations and like, oh, these reasoning models, this RL, it's causing these issues. It's dramatically better than O3 now in hallucination rate. And there, even the nano version of GPT-5 is much less hallucination rate than both O4 mini and O3. I think
talk about the chart crime that was committed live.
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
guys see this?
Yeah.
So for the rest of it, they showed the chart with, I think it was Sweetbench, where they showed it compared to Opus, and their frankly lower eval was looking like it's higher Just like the numbers on theirs were lower, but the bar was stacked higher. But to their credit, Sam Altman immediately corrected and said, yeah, this was a mistake and we're going to correct this. But otherwise, folks, what are the reactions? I know everybody's probably rushing to try this. You know, we've been having like these releases for the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 months already. It was launching. Not all of it was like high energy, high key. At some point, I was like snoozing while folks are waited. But still, very, very impressive. And they showed kind of like quite a few demos. I love that they brought the cursor folks. Somebody shouted out in the comments that this is now the default model in cursor. And Anthropic's pricing and Anthropic's revenue grew incredibly. And somebody highlighted it's primarily from 2 customers, Cursor and something else. So now it's like default in Cursor. So that's a big thing. And also they pulled up Michael Truel, the CEO of Cursor, into the demo. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So share screen.
Is this flag free for us to try, or?
No, we're a real company that needs to make money. So if you want to try it for free, obviously do that. So give me a prompt.
I think their cash pricing is fantastic. Should we just try the same thing that we did 2 days ago, but the Mars thing?
Yeah, because we have examples. We can show the comparison.
Yeah,
we don't have your screen sharing, Ryan, yet.
Yeah, it's not coming up. Let me try again. I'll try to reshare again.
Well, oops. While it pulls up, I want to chat about the new verbosity setting that they added to the API, which is very, very interesting. You can ask the model to output less. But also, they added a minimum reasoning mode. They had a small, medium, and high, and now they have a minimum reasoning setting for the model to answer directly.
Yeah, very interesting, the control they give us now. Very, very great. And yeah, most of the things we saw were pretty incremental improvements other than that. I mean, we have seen coding models before, but in actual use, that is where the proof is in the pudding. So I'm excited to try it and see how it works in agentic use cases and so on.
So did they actually show GPT-5 Pro benchmarks?
Not the
on benchmark. There was something that said GPT-5 Pro, but on the benchmarks of, I think it was also SweetBench, they showed comparisons to all 3. The verbosity is like less, but the scores are higher. So they put it out and showed kind of verbosity like less, but the scores are significantly higher.
So far, this is looking good. It got the track length for the escape velocity correctly. I think it made it smaller for Mars. It made a small mistake in the track length while in the thinking, but it's going to calculate it. It's more like 340. So the prompt is to build a magnetic train launcher on Mars, because the top of Mount Olympus on Mars is the largest mountain in the solar system, and there's almost no atmosphere there. So it's a good place to launch the stuff from. And so the prompt is, if we were to just take the Japanese train, the Shinkansen, and let's say we just put that on Mars, and we were to accelerate at maximum 2 Gs, so 2 times normal gravity, how long would the track length need to be at that acceleration for this train to go and just yeet off the planet and escape the gravity well? So it's a multi-step, pretty hard prompt, and it has to visualize it too. And so this was a very, very fun test for us to show. Oh, it's
all right, let me pull.
Question.
Yeah, it answered it. So while you read it, I'll show that. 1 second.
You can just say yes.
Yeah, and you don't have access to the web ChatGPT GPT-5 yet, right?
This is just through the API.
Okay, so it's not the most fair comparison, but that's the best we can do at the moment.
Yeah, did you guys see, by the way? I mean, I don't know, maybe I missed this in the live stream, but it's saying in the main page, it says 400K context length.
Yeah,
he mentioned it.
275 input and 128 output.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, it just launched. I'll stop sharing and share my whole screen. 1 second. It's fun to play with. It feels good so far. I mean, it's pretty fast. The reasoning tokens feel good. Like vibe check so far for me feels good.
This is incredible, folks. Absolutely incredible.
All right. Here we go. 2G? Do you want 3G or 2G? Oh, it's loading.
Yeah, let's just wait for it to load.
And I feel like just the experience of that was good. Wolfram, you can see my screen there to pull up.
It stopped the sharing again.
There we go. All right. We want 2G or 3G?
3G. Oh, but it's not showing the things. Just say animate, calculate. Oh no, it didn't get it right. 120B did not get this right the first time. Or say to host the file.
Look, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same comparison.
Yeah.
We need to do this through the Chat GPT web app.
Yeah, or maybe just tell
what we can do.
I'll do that. All right, let me stop sharing.
But what we can do is take the prompts they used on the video and try them with Claude or something, just to see what we get, because we saw the output in the video in the live stream at the moment.
Yeah, I can also try this prompt from a fan as well, from Sean.
It's not pissing in full range, so I'll try to find a way to send this to you. Folks, besides, I just want to highlight the fact that they did focus really strongly on coding, and it seems like what we wanted before kind of shows up, where this is now the default model, this is best starting, at least based on benchmarks. So of course, we're going to see the community react to the coding thing. Yeah, right. You guys have been testing this. You said tool calling is really strong as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing strong tool calling and very good agentic behavior. So I've set the default on AMP now, and today I'm going to push it really hard. But I mean, so from our internal model testers, they gave us the feedback that they believe the tool calling is very strong, and the agentic behavior is exactly what we want. Which this is why we all use Sonnet 4 instead of Gemini 2.5, right? This strong agentic behavior.
I also want to talk about the voice mode, that I didn't hear that much difference in the voice. Maybe I need to play with it a little bit more. But the few updates it gave us is, first of all, voice mode for free users is now for hours. The highlight for me was that voice mode is now available in custom GPTs. And GPT5 is also now available in custom GPTs. So you can have this voice mode, be connected to your Gmail and your Google Drive or whatever, and you can talk to it. That demo was very compelling to me specifically. In addition to the thing that always gets highlighted in the OpenAI releases, where we compare on benchmarks and we compare on the coding things, OpenAI's tools are plugging into the whole ecosystem of things, including memory, including voice mode, just everything that's built in their Canva. All of those get a huge upgrade. The one thing that I didn't see yet is agents. They released ChatGPT agent, and it's an amalgamation of the operator that they now removed from the system and kind of deep research. And supposedly deep research means the O3 equivalent. So I haven't seen them talk about the agent stuff yet.
Yeah, I was missing that as well, because the agent, we both tried it and it works, but it doesn't really as good as it should be. And yeah, the GPT-5 should elevate that to a better level.
Can you double check that for me, and then I'll get it spun up?
Yeah, try the new one. There is something you need to expand it in iMessage also. We're having a fan prompt for OpenAI, but it's so long. Most of the chatting tools, we're having some issues, but we'll get there. What else stood out to you, folks? Listen, what stood out to you in the demos and the stuff that they talked about?
The health stuff, that is very useful for me, especially the GPT-4 thinking, because I'm reading the report, their system card report. And GPT-4 mini thinking actually scored one of the highest in healthcare stuff. And that also has competitive pricing. So that is very, very good in that regard. The fact that they put such a cheap price on cache prompts, that was pretty good. Also, the overall styling, the game looked really, really good. So it's interesting because they have an entirely different data game from everybody else, right? They make their own data, they hire experts and stuff. So you're going to get very different data in here instead of everybody else's outputs up until we have now. So I'm pretty glad for that as well.
While we wait for me to get this prompt, I thought it was fascinating when they talked about structured outputs. I'm really interested to see how we could really tweak structured outputs for some exciting
They brought
innovation.
Michelle Porteras, who led their API, and I think she also got a new type. And she mentioned that structured output, you can then specify your own That was very interesting to see how folks will use this. So like structured outputs, as she said, folks are pushing it to the max and giving long like, variables and different things. It's very interesting to see how that plays out in their API.
They're catching up with what was possible with local AI already with a structured grammar where it generates structured output exactly to the format. So good that they offer this as well now.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm curious how many of you are using your agents on the CLI versus in, like a VS Code or a Cursor or a Windsurf? Who's on the CLI? Raise your hands. Alex, come on.
I'm mostly using the ChatGPT agent now. I use it to prepare for the show, and I'm quite getting like fairly satisfied with how well it goes through all my stuff. Because most of the stuff that I want is not necessarily coding related. Obviously, when I prepare demos and different Python notebooks, for example, I definitely use the CLI stuff. But for some of the other stuff, I need the agents to be logged into where I'm logged in at. And so that's why I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get any update on the agent stuff. So Michael Jewell basically said kind of the same thing that I experienced, is that we would love this model to be more computer use upgraded, and we didn't see any stuff from that side. All right, Ryan, you're up. And also, while you're there, maybe tell us a little bit about AMP, like 1 or 2 sentences, because I don't think we featured AMP before.
So AMP is an agentic coding tool. We kind of call it the power tool for developers. So you can use it in the CLI, which is what I'm doing here. You can see I'm running it in Ghosty inside Tmux.
That's the same prompt?
It's the huge prompt that, look at this prompt that Alex sent me. Make a GarageBand equivalent in Canvas, exquisitely designed and fully functional. This is a huge prompt. File output requirements, file structure, general musical rules.
Any explanation as to why it didn't work the last time on the last prompt?
I should have made it a Next.js app versus just a flat HTML file.
Yeah, so that one also hasn't worked in other tools because usually most artifact environments like Qwens and Sonnets, they have pre-built packages in. Like they have chart.js in, they have a whole bunch of stuff in that it can import. And in this case, I didn't specify that it has to be a self-contained index.html versus a thing. But I am trying it in Cursor as well now. I just fired up Cursor. So
all right, so we're installing Vite. Let's do this because this is basically from scratch. And you can see on the left here, I've got NeoVim, and you can see it starting to build out the app. Can you all see that okay?
Yeah.
I mean, feel free just to direct me if you want me to do anything differently, but let's see what happens.
I also wanted to and see from other folks thoughts on maybe what you expected from this model and didn't get. Was there anything like this? Maybe from Wolfgang? What do you expect from this model?
I already saw how they are redirecting stuff they don't want you to ask or something to other ways. So the guardrails have been increased, I think. So I will be very curious how it will be when it is a default model, because GPT-4o was pretty much uncensored in the way I've seen it, which XAI has also led the way. So I wonder if they are going that direction or going more like Claude and locking everything very tightly. I hope not.
So I saw somebody post on Twitter a snippet from their model card that says, consistent with our June blog update, biosafety work, we noted the release of GPT agent. We're building life science research special access program to enable a less restricted version of GPT-5 Thinking and GPT-5 Thinking Mini for certain vetted and trusted customers engaged in beneficial applications. So not for you, the bio open model, but for some folks who actually need this and they can trust. It looks like they're going to give them a little bit of a different access, like a less restricted access.
Right. So if you look at everything that's done so far, I basically said build it, right? And it created a Vite app, right? NPM installed a GPT Paint. It installed Tone, updated to-dos, list. I mean, so far this feels very much like Sonnet 4, but slightly better.
I wonder how well it will support MCP, for example, because I have a lot of MCP servers integrated in my Claude code.
While it's running, and we just talked about access to individuals' privilege. We have the privilege to have Dr. Daria Unut with us again, and he had access also to this. Not only that, he showed up on the video that they shared. He, another friend of ours, Piotr Skirano as well. Dr. Daria, welcome to the stream. You had access to this model. Give us a little bit of your high taste tester stuff. What do you think about GPT-5?
Yeah, I've had access for about 2 weeks, and I've been dying to talk about it. It's been really amazing. I think overall, it feels like a top 1% of any expert in the world. If you consider O3 Pro like an expert level AI model, this really goes beyond that. But for me, I've tested mostly for scientific questions and health related issues. It's very grounded. It's very factual. The O3 Pro are great, but occasionally they do hallucinate. They just make up stuff. Even when I ask a GPT-5 to be very creative, coming up with new ideas about particular scientific question, it really bases that on reality. Sometimes O3 would come up with some great ideas, but it would feel like science fiction. For example, I asked about what are the major advances that will happen in biology or medicine in the next decade. And really, it was quite amazing. Another case, I asked about what are the top 20 questions in my own field in immunology. And I have to say that every single one of the questions that it proposed were really what I would consider top. And some of them I haven't even thought about, something that I work on for the past 35 years. Another example, which I would call my moment of move 37 from the Go championship, happened. Actually, I mentioned that in the OpenAI video as well. It was about some experiments that we had done several years ago, and we had some very interesting results. We could tell that it was very interesting, and we could make some sense out of it, but we couldn't really completely understand what it meant because there were some contradicting results. It was about some immune cells called T cells. And in fact, we couldn't even publish that because I just didn't feel comfortable, like we didn't really solve it completely. So I basically uploaded one of the figures from that story that was the most challenging. And within a minute, GPT-5 came out with this unbelievable insight. Not only it actually suggested experiments that we later on performed, which were extremely relevant, but provided some new insight. Like, I'm now going to write this paper and publish it because it really explained what we had found that we couldn't explain. And I'm one of the experts in the field. So that was really a move 37 moment for me, because I just realized that GPT-5 was a better scientist than I am in my own field, which is quite revealing. And one final example I'll share. We recently just published a paper on chronic fatigue syndrome where we had thousands of data points, metabolism, microbiome, immune system. And actually, we had used deep learning AI models. This was before the ChatGPT came out. And, it took us months and months of analyzing these data, even using AI. And so I just uploaded one of the tables that had, I think, about 20,000 data points. It was 1,000 metabolites, hundreds of patients. And I just said, analyze this and tell me what you think. And again, in a matter of minutes, it created its own tables. These were metabolites that are differentially expressed. And it came up with network analysis, what all this actually would mean. It actually pretty much came out with everything that we have done in the paper, but additional insights that we haven't even thought about. And it had taken us, I think, 6 months or more, maybe a year, to analyze all that data. A PhD student spent half of her life on it. It could come out with these insights that were just remarkable. So yeah, I'm super excited. I don't think these sort of real life experiences is reflected in the benchmarks. Another one that I actually tested with a clinician friend of mine, it was actually live. A patient had just arrived. I can't share the data for privacy, but and had some results. This is a very complex immune disease that he had. And we just uploaded the data. And in a minute, it totally explained what the data means. My friend who's an expert on this field was really shocked how good it was. So yeah, I think, on healthcare, medicine, scientific progress, this will make a tremendous impact. I'm super psyched about it.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. Move 37 is quite the praise. Also, better scientist than you are is also quite the praise. Last time you were here with us, this was when deep research was released. You also had some access to deep research, and you back then had very high praise for the deep research aspect of the, I don't know, patent applications you mentioned last time.
Yeah.
How about now when you have like
Yeah.
the kind of the GPT-5, maybe GPT-5 Pro versus something like deep research? Where would you use which? I don't think they talked about deep research getting upgraded as a backbone to GPT-5. Could you talk a little bit about how and when will you decide which model to use?
Yeah, sure. Actually, speaking of a patent, wrote a patent with a friend of mine on some discovery, some compounds he had made. So the way we did it was actually using both GPT-5 and deep research together. That really enhanced everything because GPT-5 was able to come up with the framework of the patent application. It searches databases, looks at the prior art, and then I just uploaded that to deep research to fill out all the background and go over the references. And deep research also feels better too. I don't know if they made a change to that, but the patent application, which took probably, with deep research about half an hour, which we're going to submit, would have taken us probably months with a lawyer and $25,000 because my friend had done a similar patent before. This was extremely extensive. So like what GPT-5 really shined was on the claims, because for the claims, you really have to have a very deep understanding of the field, a very, very specific field about chemical formulas, cancer treatment, and so on. And then deep research really extends that to pages and pages of background information and so on. So I think together they're really working extremely well.
Did you have access to GPT-5 Pro at all, or is this all just talking about the regular GPT-5 model?
So what I had access was a regular GPT-5 and GPT-5 Thinking. I'm not
Okay.
sure whether that means GPT-5 Pro, which
And
I think
it's
it
different,
is.
yeah. No, they said there's a,
There's
yeah, so I guess maybe like I'm not sure if they've revealed it much public, but it seems like in the API it's also confirmed where there's GPT-5, the GPT-5 Pro, exclusive to Pro
Okay, yeah,
users.
I didn't even have access to Pro. I've
Wow,
mostly
okay.
used GPT-5 thinking mode, which is super fast. Like O3 Pro would take, 7, 8 minutes or 10 minutes. I get better responses from GPT-5 thinking in 30 seconds, 20 seconds. The most that I could have it think was about a minute.
It's really impressive then if
Yeah,
you're already
yeah,
getting that insane results.
it's quite remarkable.
Dr. Umtaz, last question maybe for you. I've seen your feed, and folks should definitely go and give you a follow because you have a very positive outlook on the future and how this looks and for curing disease, etc. Does this kind of release speed up your timelines? Are they already fast? Tell us a little bit about how you see this progress and where we are in like a year and a couple of years in terms of just healthcare.
Yeah, so I think last year I made some crazy claims, according to some people, that within a decade we'll cure or treat pretty much all diseases. And within 15 years or so, we'll reverse the aging process. It kind of sounded science fiction to people, but I was actually pretty sure about that. Experiencing GPT-5 definitely makes me accelerate all that process. I think we're going to achieve these sooner. And I'm now 100% sure about it because you can, from the example I gave you, the acceleration in the scientific progress is just going to be unbelievable. Another example I can share here is that I asked GPT-5 to tell me the outcome of an experiment, which we had done, we hadn't published. So this was an experiment that took about a month. These were some engineered cells against some cancer. Lots of things are happening. We do a lot of analysis and so on. And we hope that we're going to get some interesting results. And it takes about a month. And it's a very, very long process. So GPT-5, day by day, told me probably about 90% of the output that we got from the experiment, without knowing the outcome of the experiment. There were a few nuances that we got, but more importantly, it suggested how to improve the experiment. So what that allows you to do is that because the space of experimentation is almost unlimited. So you can try thousands of different conditions, but it would take you years to do those experiments. So if I can actually run them as a simulation in GPT-5, and then GPT-5 tells me, okay, like this is a more interesting experiment. These are the other ones you're gonna get these kind of outputs. But if you do it this way, or if you change the conditions like that, you'll probably have this result. And then you just pick the most critical one, and then you just validate it in the lab. So that has an incredible accelerating impact. Of course, not to mention, now we can screen drugs and so on, but you still have to try the drugs on cells, on tissues, on complex biological systems. So it's not just, you can discover 1,000 drugs, but you don't know what concentrations to act, what will be the side effects, and so on. And so one of the things that I'm super passionate about and hope to contribute is developing what we call digital twins, literal simulation of our biological being. We're starting with cells right now. Actually, I've already have a small model with GPT-5 of a virtual cell, a particular immune cell type. This is super exciting because once you develop that, and we'll probably need some more data to feed into it and then fine tune it, but then you can run experiments. Most of the experiments you can run in silico in matter of hours or days instead of years. And not only that, once we have the digital twin, we'll be able to run clinical trials in a personalized manner. So imagine that there's a new drug and you have to test the drug on 1,000 people. You have no idea who's going to have a positive effect, who's going to have a side effect. It's going to take years to determine. It'll cost hundreds of millions of dollars. But instead, now you can do that in a matter of weeks or days, very little side effects. And then you just accelerate the clinical trials into months, from years, into very small groups. So all of these things really super accelerate the discoveries. I think what people don't understand is that because they think linearly, they say, well, it took like, I don't know, 2 decades to develop this drug or that drug, and we still don't have a complete treatment. What you're going to see is that this exponential curve, as we approach the singularity moment, or I call biosingularity in biology, that maybe for the next 2-3 years, we're not going to see the effects as much. But once the pharma and the biotech adapt these technologies, then literally in a matter of a year, you could develop hundreds of drugs that will act on hundreds of different diseases. And I think Google has the isomorphic, they understand that very well. So we're right at that inception point for the biology. What's really missing in biology is that biology is very complex. We need a lot more data and a lot more computation. The real limit is electricity and computation right now. We need a lot of GPUs. So the models themselves are already remarkable. They told me they're already probably working on GPT-6. It's just going to keep getting better. It's probably the best timeline in human history. It's so exciting to be alive now.
It's very, very exciting, and very exciting to always have you with a very positive outlook. So Dr. Untas, thank you so much for joining us and sharing some of your experience. Ryan, how are we looking on the example? Bye,
Yeah, good. It's interesting. You can see what it's doing. Basically, we're cranking through some bugs. When I tried to play the MIDI file, it only played one note. So kind of interesting to see it sort of bug solve. But so far, pretty good. I'll give you a shout when it's something to show.
Right, I think we're coming up on 3.5 hours of the stream. So I think we'll go maybe a little bit more, but just to celebrate this incredible release from OpenAI. And to summarize it, we've been getting better. I haven't heard from you for a while. I want to hear your thoughts also. What's surprising?
Trying to understand. First, I like the price. Let's say it's slightly better than a 4.1 for code, and better in terms of price. It's cheaper, and 4.1 is great. It's a workhorse, and definitely this is a better model. Whether or not it's the best, I need to try. Opinions are everywhere on Twitter at the moment. I mean, some people are not impressed, you can say, also on Polymarket, but most of us didn't try. So, they're saying it based on benchmarks, and okay, you might argue that on benchmark, on paper, it's not the jump that we hope for, but some people that did try it swear by it and say it's a really good model. So I can't wait to try it myself.
We have tons of folks in our group chat. All of the speakers and guests on the show, we all have this nice group chat. But by the way, shout out, if you are watching this and you want to be a speaker here and you have something notable, let me know. You'll get it to the group chat. Most of the folks there, if not all of the folks who had early access, are saying it's absolutely an incredible model. DJ, go ahead and we'll share Ryan's screen.
Yeah, so I was going to mention Pietro, who's also in the group chat. He tweeted just recently saying that he thinks this is going to be as big of a deal for coding as GPT-4 was for LLMs, which that's a pretty big statement there. And he has actually been maybe one of the most popular proponents, I think, of the Claude models and their agentic encoding capabilities for a while. And then you also have Cursor just made an announcement, it looks like, that they made it their new default model in Cursor.
Yep, default model, and also they have one more thing that's coming out today, so we may have some breaking news. But over to Ryan.
Okay, now I'm not muted. So I was showing my terminal, right? And just to show you how long this thread was. So I'm going to scroll back through just to show you all the way to the top. So this is a lot of reasoning and a lot of working. So here's the crazy long prompt. And then we scroll down. It's a bug I found. So I'm just going to go all the way to the bottom. And then we go to the app. And hopefully this sound comes through. Let me know if you can hear this.
No, you need to share the tab and select the share audio.
Let me stop sharing. 1 second. Here we go.
The prompts were very elaborate with very specific rules for how this app should look and how it should behave and how it should play, and basically creates like a whole GarageBand type thing, which is incredible.
Yeah, so I'm ready to play it. I've got my tab shared now. You'll see in a second. We've got Castlevania Boss, Space Opera, Cowboy Saunter, a Bosch Russ. Props to anybody who remembers Castlevania, by the way. I think it was like my first game on Nintendo.
All right, we're on.
Okay, so here we go. Let's play. Are you hearing that? Yeah, not bad, huh?
This builds a whole MIDI player, basically. You have the chords, you have the lead melody.
I mean, not bad. Cybernor, let's try Orchestral Tragedy. That was boring. Let's do Space Opera. I want to hear Castlevania Boss. So, not bad, y'all. I mean,
it built a whole MIDI player with downloadable MIDI files with the sounds, multi-track MIDI. That's pretty incredible. And like the interface looks good.
That's GPT-5, right?
Yep, GPT-5.
With Claude, you can change the engine and run it, right?
It's building it right now, so we'll see how it does.
Let's compare. Just before we ask.
Remember, there's also the advanced voice mode, and I wonder now, the potential for, I'm not sure if it's quite good enough yet, or maybe in the next few months or something, but just singing to the advanced voice mode a melody that you want, and then asking it to code up some interface or MIDI like file that has that melody that you just hummed, right?
Did they mention anything about EU rules? So did you catch anything? Because I'm trying to refresh my stuff, and I'm not getting GPT-5 in the interface yet, and I'm on Pro.
You might need to VPN, or maybe, I don't know. But by the way, I tried the Martian example in Cursor, and it just wasn't that good. It was more on par with Qwen. I am screen sharing. Okay, by the way, the dashboard that they showed, I gave Opus that one, and it's better. Although that one did look more professional. I have to give them that.
I don't think that this is better. This doesn't look better. Maybe it's same, but some of the lines are skewed.
But it is also just one shot inside the app, right? So again, the other one was GPT-5. I tried to just keep it going in thing, but it just made a little bit of a mess. It's not bad, but this is kind of like the results we got more with Qwen. And I can show the example result that we got with Opus on the first shot. That was mind-blowing on a whole
So
other.
you just shown is GPT-5, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to show. So the one that we did with Opus was just nuts. It was on another. That one was on another level. But yeah, let's hope this MIDI one finishes.
While we're waiting for it to finish, I mean, we all code with these tools all day, every day. And what I just did felt better, like very proactively agentic from GPT-5, and figured out the bugs, right? So like on gut instinct, it feels like a better model for sure.
The thing I saw from the Cursor folks, from Rio and some other folks, talking about this model and why they chose to put it as a default one, is that this is like the same model. You don't need to switch. It does longer thinking on very long, like different code tasks, and it's kind of like very fast on very simplish tasks. So like one unified model, so they're incredible. Folks, we're at 3 hours and 35 minutes of this incredible stream of GPT-5, one of the best releases that I remember from OpenAI, a long one. They even brought Yakob at the end to kind of give us a little bit of excitement and celebrate the whole team that worked on this. We saw Mark Chen, we saw Greg Buckman, we saw Olivia. It was like a bunch of folks from all over OpenAI. It looks like they're trying to highlight all these folks. And so just like an incredible release from everybody in OpenAI. We've been waiting for something like this for a while. 32 months of ThursdAIs. Let's go.
A lot of
We're
ThursdAIs.
very, very, very happy to share this moment in time with all of you, like significantly step up in intelligence, in agentic application, tool calling, and different other things. So we really appreciate all of you, almost 20,000 of you who tuned in with us to watch this incredible stream. I think it's time for us to land this plane. I would just say OpenAI absolutely controlled the airwaves this week. With the open source model and the GPT-5 model, but also other stuff also happened. Musical models from multiple things, open source continues to do. And so we'll always be here to cover this beginning next week. Tune in, please, because we're trying to arrange, and hopefully we'll do so, a chat with the Genie 3 team, which we barely covered today, the world model. And so I really want to thank Wolfram for running the stream from Germany while I'm on vacation. Jan, Taylor, Winston, LDJ, and Ryan Carson. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you missed any part of it, everything's going to get hopefully released. We'll see how much longer I can go for on Thursday. So if you missed any part of it, please subscribe to ThursdAI News, where we will keep you up to date, as we always do, for bigger releases and for smaller ones. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and go play with the model.
Thanks, everybody. See you.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye, everyone.